All righty. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 5:30, based on the alarm over here to the right from Dr. Rogers, so we can get started on time. So we'll call this meeting to order, and just want to say welcome, everyone, and welcome back to school. Seen a lot of exciting pictures online of our different schools and staff and families coming back, and we're super excited about that. I'm sure we're going to have a lot of great comments tonight by our colleagues and staff, as well as the community in regards to coming back to school. So we'll go ahead and go to 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance. And today it's going to be from district students from the Highland YMCA's day camp, and they will lead us in the pledge. Thank you. All right. Thank you to our students from the YMCA Day Camp, and looking sharp in their uniforms as well. We will move on to 1.3, which is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Discussion?
We are looking to pull item 8.2 for further investigation on independent study.
All right. Sorry about that, Mr. Applegate. I was getting my notepad. We're going to pull 8.2. IS further investigation. Thank you. Any other items that need to be pulled or discussed? All righty. So the agenda has been amended by pulling 8.2. It's been moved and properly second. No other further discussion. Let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries. We'll move on to 1.4, inspirational message. And this board meeting, it's Miss Myra Ceballos. Miss Ceballos.
Thank you, Board President, and good evening to you all today. Just want to take a few minutes to say welcome back to all our staff and our students. I hope that you all had a great return to school, and I hope that you really did enjoy your summer this summer and you took some time off and spent it with family and just relaxed and disconnected. So with that being said, I just want to talk today a little bit about courage. And I'm going to read a little something that I found to be inspirational to me. So, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the commitment to overcome it. And by the way, hopefully that, after a year like no other, hopefully this can bring some courage to you all to face the second year. Anyway, courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the commitment to overcome it. Courage doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you battle against your fear and confront it. Courage pushes you to resist the impulse to shy away from the things that stir up your innermost anxieties. Courage is required and must be a constant. It's tiny pieces of fear all glued together. And here are some helpful tips for building a culture of courage. Set scary standards. Your level of excellence and expectation for your product or service or experience should almost be something that is nearly unattainable. Safe goals are set by safe leaders with safe visions. Give your people a goal that scares them, and you'll produce leaders who know what it means to overcome fear. Allow for failure. The road to success is many times put together through multiple failures. Allow for and even encourage your team to fail as they attempt to succeed. Reward innovation. Innovation requires taking risks. And bold risks create bold team members. Rewarding innovation will challenge your team to grow in their roles. Pursue the right opportunities. Not every risk is a good one. Be disciplined. Aggressively pursue a few things that make sense and say no often. Learn to delegate. This is one of the most courageous things a leader can do. Entrusting others with important tasks require letting go and relinquishing control. Liberally pass responsibility and authority to your team. If you want your team to be courageous, give them the chance to lead. And with that, I pass it on. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ceballos. That was very inspirational, and I think we often say to our students when they come up to speak, or our community members, it takes a lot of courage to do so. So I do appreciate that. Great message. Thank you. And definitely important at this time of the year, come back to school and still a little bit of anxiety. So courage on all behalf of all of us. So appreciate that. Thank you. 2.0, public comments. 2.1, receive public comments. This is the only time the public will have an opportunity to address the board on items not on the agenda and within their subject matter jurisdiction, such as district policies, procedures, programs, services, or fiscal matters. Public comments are limited to 5 minutes per person. 6 or more people who wish to speak on one topic will be provided no more than 30 minutes total. Speakers are cautioned that under California law, no person is immune from liability for making intentionally false or defamatory comments regarding any person simply because these comments are made at a public meeting. All righty, we will start with our first public comment, and it is Wendy Joseph. Welcome.
Okay, good day.
Day.
My name is Wendy Joseph, and I recently started an LLC called Pray for the Pray 827.
I'm sorry, Ms. Joseph, we didn't hear that. Can you get a little
It's
bit?
called Pray for the Pray.
Pray for the pray?
Yeah,
Okay.
827. And I've been active in communities for the last about 17 years as a volunteer. I participate with the California Black Power Network, everytown.org, Gun Safety University, Blue Education Foundation, Moms Demand Action, Students Demand Action, COPE, DAAC, the YO Youth Program. I am starting to assist with their efforts. Like I said, I'm a business owner. I've been on the African American Advisory Council, Altaloma High School, and I was a participant of Black Public Officials Leadership Training. I am here today and more. That's just recently. That's just within the last 2 years. I am here because there is a concern, legitimate concern about public safety with these kids, the children. I'm a gun violence survivor, so I lost my voice for like 3 years. So I'm still trying to deal with that. But I wanted to read something to you during my minutes. Matthew 18:19-20. Again, truly I tell you that if 2 of you on earth agree about anything they ask for, it will be done for them by my Father in heaven. For where 2 or more gather in my name, there am I with them. Let's pray for all in a moment of silence. It's not all right because they are targets and not even part of the violence. We turn in our kids to the world, and the world ain't gonna do them no justice, but I guess today I'm supposed to be quiet. I never thought that all of these children would be killing each other to be part of such violence. This is crazy. Why we doing this to our own? Ain't no need to shoot someone when they're just simply trying to make it home. What's the point of them trying to give themselves a sentence? If they're going to dip out in the end and be afraid, then they should just serve the sentence on their own. I just want this picture painted clear so most of the world can see that a bullet has no name, but it took a name from me. There's a burden that I can't bear, a body on their plate to eat. I know that they can barely stomach it so that they can take their keep. But there's a target on these schools, there's a target on these desks, there's a target on these neighborhoods, there's a target on these children's chests. There's a target on our loved ones, and there's a target on their heads. And either way, there was a target on my son until he was dead. So we must pray for the prey. We have to do more for these kids. These kids are in danger. I don't know if you guys really see it. I don't know if you guys just go straight to the freeway after work. But these kids are in danger. They are normalizing a culture of violence. In order for them to arrive to school, they should be, when they get to school, they should be celebrated, their achievements to get to school, to overcome the monkeypox, COVID, drugs, a culture of violence, human trafficking, mental health is just out of control out here. These kids have to go far and beyond to get to school. And then when they get to school, they are addressed with law enforcement officers if they don't behave. This needs to stop, because if they're not going to exhaust all the resources for these children, then these children shouldn't be approached by school resource officers. How can we get the school buses back for the children? These kids need school buses. It's hard for them to get to school. I purposely get out and I travel during the summer with the kids who are going to summer school, just so I can observe and see what they have to deal with. And it's horrific. I was called the N-word for 10 minutes and the bus driver didn't say anything. I had to file a complaint with Omnitrans on July 11th, and it is recorded, and I had to file a complaint on behalf of the kids because I said these kids shouldn't have to deal with this.
Time.
Blessings.
Thank you, Ms. Joseph.
Can you bring her back so I can make a comment?
Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Joseph. Well, it looks like we had a question up here for you.
Hi, Mrs.
Dr.
Joseph,
Daddy Rogers?
and I was going to ask the name again. I just want to say to you, it's coming from over here. I want to say to you, especially in line with what we just recently said, thank you for your courage coming and sharing. I actually have in my comments tonight just to speak to some of the losses that we've had with our students just recently. The young girl, 8 years old, and we know that there was another tragedy the week before, another one of our students. And so we appreciate you, and we hope that, I don't know if your students are still in our district or not, nieces, nephews, cousins, or whomever, but we do need your voices and your assistance to help us with our students, because we are tired of losing them. I know personally I am too. So thank you. That was very courageous of you to share that with us. And we know there are many others like you out there. And we want you to know that we're here to support you.
All righty, thank you again. Our next public comment is Mr. Jerry Robershaw. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My problem is I live on Leroy Street.
Mr. Robershaw, can you have the mic a little bit closer or raise it to you?
I live on Leroy Street in San Bernardino. I've lived up there for about 45 years. We have a problem when school is out. There's a gate that falls right up on Leroy. Well, people are parking up and down the street on Leroy, which is no parking at any time, or permit parking only, which we pay for the permits. These people are picking up their kids and taking them home, and that's from 2 to 2:30. I will not try to get out of my driveway or even drive on my street in that half-hour period. The other question and situation we have is after school, they have just the junior All-American football and cheer, which is allocated from the people, I think it's over on 9th Street on the other side of the freeway. They have the allocation of who the football field goes to. They do not park where they're supposed to park. They park up and down our street. I've gone to, I don't know how many people and how many things I've tried to get this thing situated. And I always just say, if you take the football field away, which I don't want to have to do for the kids, because it's the parents causing the problem. Now, I've had patients, I've been putting up with this for about 9 years, and nothing is getting done. If that gate was closed going into Leroy, there would not be a problem. They would have to walk around. They say you got to have 2 exits from the field, which is the far end, which is over there towards Sierra Way. There's an opening that's open all the time. When football is there or school is there, they have a key to open up another situation where they can go and get out, a 2-way street. And all I'm trying to do is trying to get something situated and get this thing cleared up, because the 3 people, one north of me and south of me, they just don't know what to do. And I'm at the point where I don't like to talk in front of people. That's not my thing. But I try to get to the point. And it just, I don't know what to do now. And if the football field was taken away from them people, and I says, take it away for a week until you teach the parents where to park. It's not the kids' problem, it's the parents' problem. And they're not abiding by it. I'm not gonna go out and confront somebody, because they could pull a gun out and shoot me. And I think my life is worth a little more than, a parking spot. So that's what I have to say, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Robershaw. It looks like we have a question from Mr. Tillman.
There's a question for you?
Sir,
Right here?
over here?
And we're here.
Okay.
So, and I could find out, but just to be convenient, what school is next to, what school do you
Golden Valley.
Golden Valley, okay.
And when this, way back when, I knew a couple of guys that were on the football thing, and I went up and talked to them about it, and they said, okay, and that's pretty well taken care of. They have switched to somebody else, and I just don't want to go up and deal with them.
When it was taken care of, it was because they shut that gate, opened up
they
some other
told
gates?
the parents, move your cars.
Okay.
And they're not telling the parents to move their cars. So the people on Leroy suffer.
Thanks for coming. We'll have some people, I'm sure, Ms. Applegate, look into it.
On one side of the street, it says, no parking at any time except by permit. That's my side of the street. The other side is no parking at any time, period.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
they just look at the sign and park there. So,
Thank
Thank
you
you
for
very
coming.
much.
Appreciate you. Thank
Yes, we
you.
will look into that.
Mr.
We have one
Obershaw?
more question, Mr. Obershaw.
Mr. Obershaw?
Sorry? Yep, Dr. Flores has a question for you.
So I just wanted to ask you 2 things. One, have you gone to the principal?
yep.
You have, okay. More than once, I imagine.
Oh, a lot of times. And
lot
then
of
they come
times.
up and they say, well, we know the guy they allocated to, and we'll get in touch with him. That was a week ago.
Okay, so let me, because I live near there, and I go walking around the
Around the track?
around the track. So I'm trying to understand where you said the opening is.
Okay, it's a far end on the Sierra Way side.
Oh, and that way.
There's a
Okay.
little gate. It's
Okay.
always open. There's no gate to
Right,
shut.
right.
And then
okay,
the one over there that goes into the bus parking lot,
Right.
it's opened up when the kids are there, or it's locked, and so is the Leroy one is locked during school.
So it should be
After
locked.
school, they
Okay,
open that up, and they open up for the bus part. So
Okay.
they do have escape routes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Obershaw, I think
Yeah.
Mr. Solon had a comment.
Yes, so our facilities team is aware of the issue, and they are going to be working on a solution to provide access to parking for those groups on campus. So we are working on a solution.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I already said thank you for your time.
You guys have a good day.
You too. All right, our next public comment is Stephanie Roderick. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
So my name's Stephanie Roderick. I'm a parent of students who go to both Cajon High School and North Verdemont Elementary. Last year I had a child who also attended Cesar Chavez. And I think my biggest concern right now is the neighborhoods surrounding those, any schools. Last year at North Verdamont Elementary, there is a independent living home that I tried to contact social services for. It falls under code enforcement for the San Bernardino City, but I'm asking the Board of Education for help trying to figure out something that would safety net the kids at both Cesar Chavez and North Verdamont from this establishment that has not only criminals there, but offenders of all kinds that are allowed to live there, because the code doesn't stop it from happening. And it is literally 2 doors away from North Verdamont Elementary School. Last year, there was 2 incidents of a man who walked down the street naked, exposing himself to both elementary and middle school children. It's only the second day of school for Cajon High School, and there was a off-campus shooting in the neighborhood right across the street from Cajon. My understanding is that it was an isolated incident, that we don't know if it was a student or not. But it's all hearsay, but whether or not it's hearsay through students, so they are scared. And they believe that the child that shot the actual gun had it in a backpack at the school and was carrying it around with him all day. I do not want a prison-like atmosphere for our schools. I agree with that. But I believe it was in '94 when San Bernardino City Unified School District decided that metal detectors were okay for random searches. And I think it is 2022, and that it is time to put in metal detectors for when kids walk in and out of schools. Now, will that stop gun violence? No. But I think that it would be a big preventative tool, and a tool for both security and the police departments around San Bernardino City. So I would just really like it if the Board of Education would hear my plead and my cry to just protect our children, because I just don't know what else to do anymore. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roderick. We have a question from Dr. Flores.
Ms. Rogers, thank you for coming.
Roderick.
I was aware of that naked man walking around. Oh, sorry. Several parents texted me, and your concerns are warranted, very, very warranted. And just as the speaker before you, a couple of speakers before you said, we can't normalize a culture of violence. Mm-hmm. And as parents, we do have to raise our voices and our concerns, but we as a board also have to take action in terms of those possibilities. My dad always said, if you bring a complaint to me, you better have a solution or two. And so I thank you for your solutions that you provided us. I don't know what the protocol is in terms of notifying the city of that independent house that really should not be there. And I don't know what the codes are, how the codes get changed, but I think we need to address that. Dr. Wyatt and board and cabinet, Ms. Applegate, we need to address that because that's unacceptable. And also, we haven't been briefed. I don't know anything about the, you said it's hearsay, but we don't know what the facts are. But still, it's scary, right, mm-hmm. in terms of, our students carrying guns and knives and so forth. We prohibit that. Right. So anyway, but I thank you very much for coming forth. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. And, just a comment on that. Again, that's where the partnership with our local government, with the city council and the mayor and the police chief is important. We will continue to emphasize that about the bridge committee. And I will continue to be optimistic that we will meet together. But it's times like this and comments like this that, drive us to make sure we do that. All right, Vice President Tillman.
Thank you very much. I know that there was extensive talk about that home. even last year because of the incident. So I know the city council is aware of it. I do think that I know I talked to Chief Polino to ensure that we have increased patrols in that area to make sure if something is happening, then at least we're nearby where we can intervene. I know you had a lot of extensive discussion about the metal detectors because I read the blog of Vermont. What is it called? The Vermont?
Neighborhood Association.
There you go.
The
Yeah.
VNA,
So
yeah.
I get an email alert. So I know you guys had an extensive conversation and it's been talked about greatly on that blog. And it was, both sides. But I truly believe that we always should look at ways of if there's some ways to increase the safety, then we should. I know in the past we used to do just surprise searches.
Right, random.
So we should, and I think that's a good idea because you're not doing it every day, but students knowing that there's a potential at any given time to do it is a deterrent. And there's times when there's talk in the community that we do it. Now, if there's, and I'm big on studies, and there's plenty of studies out there. So I know, Dr. Wire, this is part of your expertise also. But if there are things that we can do that make sense, then I'm 100% towards going towards those things. But I appreciate you coming down because it does make a difference.
No, thank you very
you.
much. And I just want to also just make a small comment towards that is that, it was in 94. So I was a freshman in high school when random metal detector searches started. And my daughter is a junior in high school now, and she hasn't even been one time randomly searched. And school shootings are far more aggressive since that time. It's been 30 years. And I just think it's time we step up. That's it.
Thank you again for your comment.
Thank
and I
you.
think I would speak on the board's behalf that we all agree. So thank you. Mr. Eric De Leon, and this one is Kids Safety and Security at Public Schools. Sounds like we're having a really good discourse on this right now. And I'm glad that our community and parents are very involved and concerned. Welcome.
Good evening. From the get-go, I'm sorry if some of it's redundant, but I think it needs to be addressed, right, and emphasized. But before I begin, since there were some topics that got touched, I'd like to ask a quick question. That way I don't waste too much time. There was a statement by Ms. Ontiveros, I believe, that said that once an investigation is complete, there's full transparency. Is that correct?
We certainly could release what is allowable to be released from that investigation, yes. So we will do that.
Okay, so with that statement clarified, is the investigation as far as the Instagram post that was posted a week ago, that has been concluded, right? That has been, it was found not a threat, right? So by all intended
That was my
purposes, the
understanding, yes.
investigation has been completed, right? Now I asked because I actually called on Friday and I talked to somebody on Monday, and I believe I don't think it's anybody in here, but I was told I couldn't be given any additional information because it was confidentiality, right? Now with that said, going back to that post. In my opinion, that update, that post that was given by the district had no context, had no weight. Sorry, I forgot to introduce myself. Eric De Leon, been a resident since '92. Went to Arrowview and San Bernardino High. It's not even Arrowview no more, right? Arrowview and San Bernardino High, and joined service. Did 6 years, came back, and continued being a resident here, right? So I'm fully aware of the young lady that two people before me, right? When she mentioned the metal detectors at Arrowview, I remember going through metal detectors. At San Bernardino High School, I remember going through metal detectors. And as you all know, San Bernardino High School has not had the best reputation. But hey, guess what? In my whole time there, we never had any kind of incident in school, right? And yeah, there was rough crowds, but we never had any shooting, any stabbing, nothing like that, right? So sorry for my back and forth, but going back to the update that was posted, I feel that it had no weight, no context to it. I called to ask, hey, I don't need to know information as to who it was or what was or any names, right? Like of such. I just wanted to know what made it, what was the extent of the investigation that made it not a threat, right? I wasn't given an answer. I was told I couldn't be given an answer. Spoke to watch commander, various people. I never got an answer. At what point does confidentiality or such trump that at ease of a parent, right? I have 4 children, 3 different schools. I can't split myself as much as I would want to. I could sit outside the school, right? But I can't split myself into 3 schools, right? So if you guys, I don't know if you guys want to answer right there, if there's any information as far as what was the extent of the investigation that deemed it not a threat.
And I don't have the details on that right now, but I can certainly speak with our chief of police or whoever conducted the investigation to see what it was that they saw to not make it credible.
Okay. And along with that, I'm on board with the metal detector stuff like that. I mean, I hate to bring up this comparison because I know it's a hot topic. Some people take it the wrong way. But, for all intended purposes, COVID was deemed not a high risk for young children. Yet we still took implementations, policies were put in place in the name of safety for our children, right? What's the difference now? Why aren't we taking extra measures? My wife called the schools, asked, hey, what extra measures are you guys doing based on this threat? The simple response she got was none, because it was deemed not a threat, right? But yet we have an incident that happens in Cajon on the first day of school, and immediately we say we're going to have extra police on campus at least Tuesday. I don't know if the rest of the week or not, but why aren't we being more proactive? That's my concern, right? Sorry, reading some of my notes. It almost feels when I did the phone call and I asked for more information, it almost felt like I was just told, hey, you just got to take our word because we're the authority, right? I have an issue with that. I don't know if in my military background, what have you, but the way I felt is, you can't expect us to just take your word for it, right? I'm sorry, and when I say you, of course, I don't mean you guys, right? But in general, just with COVID itself, if your kid was sick, you were expected to bring a negative test result, right? Something to prove. All I'm asking is for the same.
All right, Mr. De Leon, that was time, but we do have some questions for you, which will go a little bit farther and expand. So we'll start with Dr. Flores.
Mr. De Leon, thank you for coming. Just to be clear, your concern is that what response was posted was not adequate in terms of letting you know substantially of what had happened, or in terms of just saying that we took care of it, right?
Right.
Right. So you would like more definitive information. We did an investigation, we found probably a different way of saying it, right? Instead of just dismissing it and putting it in broad general terms. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. And if I may add a little bit to that, based on all the current shootings that we've had, my mind straight went to Parkland, right? That kid was deemed a threat by many entities, and yet even if it was just due to lack of action, it was considered not a threat. And then what happened, right? So I was just looking for a little bit of meat, a little bit of substance.
Right.
That
So
tells me,
more substantive,
Right.
more clear, and not dismissive language.
Correct.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All righty, thank you, Dr. Flores.
I agree with you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Vice President Tillman.
And I agree with you 100%. Safety is a big deal. I went to San Bernardino High School too. When I went there, they had a bomb and people got shot, and so because of that, safety is huge for me. Even during the movement where they were saying defund the police, I was totally against defunding the school police,
Right.
because there are going to be instances that occur in our district where you need school police officers that are armed. That's just my personal opinion. Been in San Bernardino my entire life, so there's nothing more important than the safety of our students. So I agree with you on that. The challenge with giving the information, because I've lived through tragedies, and so when the board members are in the room for the debriefing, whoever the police authority, there's certain information they said you're gonna give you this debriefing, but this information you cannot divulge to the public. And the reason for that is not just the ongoing investigation, but also looking down the road at prosecuting and all that. So the toughest part for me is having the information and not being able to tell the public what I know. But I know that in the end, if I do something and a person who committed a crime gets off because of information I divulge, then the public's not happy about that either. So it becomes a being stuck between a rock and a hard place. It really is. Even this last instance, I received information about them identifying the person. They went to the person and named the place. I'm not going to say it because I don't know how much of that is confidential and only divulged to board members. But I heard enough information that gave me the confidence to say, okay, then they really have contacted this person and dealt with the situation so that I could feel comfortable about telling parents when they came to me and had a concern about it that I feel confident that the issue had been dealt with. Now,
But the public doesn't, and Mr. De Leon didn't.
Dr. Flores, I understand it. But my point is, we're not, and even in that situation, I could see why they wouldn't want all the information given out because it would jeopardize the case that you're going to put on against that person at some point, if that makes sense. So I know, just like Ginger said, after the investigation is done, they're going to be in the room with law enforcement that's going to tell them how much of that information can be released to the public.
So then the statement of once an investigation is complete, there's full transparency is not necessarily true then, right?
I agree with you 100% because
it should be
full
once the case is over.
Because exactly, there you go. Because full transparency would be
so you can see how communication, or the way we communicate, is very important, right?
And that's why I'm being as open as honest as I can right now, so we're on the same page.
Because and you understand my
No doubt
frustration,
about
right?
it.
I come in. Sorry, I came in a little bit late, driving from high desert from work. But come in, and the first thing I hear is, once an investigation is complete, there's full transparency.
Let me tell you just a real quick story. It was one of the worst days of my life. But we had a shooting at an elementary school, and North Park, and we went. They had the board come in with the police, and we got debriefed on what teacher, what classroom, what students, all of it. And they said, none of this information you can release because this is all preliminary, and you cannot. The police, whoever the police chief was, said no one in this room can divulge this information to the public. There wasn't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's what they told us. I left the room and ended up seeing parents who were crying because I didn't realize it, but at the time, the students who had been harmed had not been identified yet. And the students were taken to Cal State, and the parents didn't have access to the students, so it was turmoil. I actually went into Cajon High School, and there was a parent hysterically crying in the corner. And I asked her, "Why are you crying?" She said, "Because I think my baby is gone." And I asked her who her child's teacher was and the grade, and I was able to tell her that wasn't your child because I knew from what they had told me that it wasn't. And I was able to say that without divulging what they just told me not to divulge. So trust me, it's a horrible position for us to be in. But it's where we are. But I will say this, as board members, and I hate to say it because I don't trust anybody, but to some extent, you guys have to trust that when we get the information, that we're going to push back until we feel like we can feel comfortable when we release that statement saying that it's been investigated and it's been resolved.
Thank you, Vice President Tillman. Ms. Wiles?
That's a little contradictory there, Mr. Tillman. I don't trust anybody, but you got to trust us. Sorry, I just thought that was a little funny. But I think overall, I think what's being asked, if I'm understanding correctly, and I hear and I understand also that there is information that we can't release for whatever reason. But I think that that's not what's being asked, if I'm hearing correctly. All that I'm hearing is you just want to know where we're at in the process. So if there is something that the district has deemed that we've already finalized an investigation, and we can't be transparent because it's being, sent off to the police department or whatever the case, then let's communicate that to the community and let them know we can't get further details. It's out of our hands. It's, X, Y, and Z. And if it's not being sent to them, then we should be releasing whatever information we can. Right. And so I think that that's what I'm hearing. And I hope that that is what we're doing and that is what we do.
Right. One of the things I even mentioned when I was on the phone with the San Bernardino School District PD and the office of, I'm sorry, I forgot what it was, but it was with the school district itself. One of the things I asked, well, how is there not anything available, even under Freedom of Information Act, right? There should be at least a redacted report of some sort, right? And I was still not given an answer, right? So very unsettling, very uncomforting. And before I get cut off, sorry, I don't know if anybody else has anything else to add, but one of the young ladies over there had mentioned about, proposing a solution as well. I did, just running out of time. And maybe it's my military train of thought. I don't know if I'm going overboard, but, extra security, a rapid response team, something like that. I mean, shoot, I'll be willing to volunteer, right, with my background and stuff like that. But it would be nice to see, just like we took COVID serious and implemented extra procedures and stuff, right, to ensure the safety of our kids. We should be, in my opinion, we should be putting a little bit more extra when it comes to threats, right? That's it from me.
All righty, Mr. De Leon, thank you again for your public comments. And just to give you a little bit of a heads up that when the incident did happen, that was, close to Cajon. As soon as we knew, we contacted our administration. Our administration got us feedback. And they've been staying with us on communication actually continuously since that incident. And now we're kind of in that investigation stage and we're waiting for information. Our Deputy Chief Donahue's in the back there. We've already communicated and said we'll get a BC, which is a board correspondence from him immediately, which means probably tomorrow. So we have an update on all of this as well. So we're working right as you speak, just so you know, to get this information.
I appreciate it. And
Yeah.
I promise the last thing is just,
please.
as a member of the community for X amount of years now, and an adult with children now, my eyes are in a different spot. We rely on you guys, right? We need to feel we could trust you guys. And sorry to say this, but unfortunately right now, it's not there. And it was one incident, right? For me, at least. First thing that popped in my mind when I heard the Cajon incident is like, how do we know that's not connected? Of course, the response I was anticipating was, oh, it's not connected, right? But when you're already faced with a response with no context, what weight is there behind that response, right? So
Again, thank you, Mr. De Leon. It is time, and I just want to say thank you for your service as well.
thank you.
All right, we have 2 virtual comments. Ms. Cunningham?
Yes, we do. Our first one is Hardy Brown. Mr. Brown, if you're available, please unmute.
Welcome, Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, are you there?
Yes, we do. Our first one is Hardy Brown. Mr. Brown, if you're available, please unmute.
Welcome, Mr. Brown.
Hannah.
Like this? Okay. Okay. Hardy has asked me to read this for him. And he says, this is Cheryl Brown. He says, before I get started, I was on the board in the 1990s when gun violence was a problem and on and off of campus in our community. I will email you, Mr. President, to share with you the ideas on how to combat the problem that parents brought to you tonight that we did as a board then in conjunction with the city. Now, his comments are, I'm requesting disability accommodation just in case it takes me more than the allotted 5 minutes to complete his written statement. Thank you, President Wyatt, board members, and staff. It has been more than a few months since I have made comments before you. I notice you have on the agenda to select a search firm to locate a superintendent, while at the same time to terminate Harry Doc Irvin as a superintendent, or in my opinion, was forced to retire. You know my thoughts on that issue, so I will not bore you and the public with it. My thoughts tonight are centered around your stated responsibilities as a board and the findings of the Great Gains Governance and Extended Learning Reports and its finding of conflict of interest, which is defined in California Government Code Section 1090. This code prohibits a school board member from any involvement such as preliminary discussion, planning, negotiation, approval, or solicitation of bids where you would have a financial interest, such as a family member receiving a salary from your decision or vote. Nor can you threaten or apply pressure on staff to select the person or who to award contracts to, as you're currently doing as reported to me. I hope my source of information is wrong, because the penalty can be voiding the contract, criminal and civic penalties, including being banned from holding public office. The 2 CAPS reports done by Great Gains have already identified a potential conflict of interest for board member Tillman, which, in my opinion, should be turned over to the district attorney, the Attorney General of California, and the Fair Political Practice Commission, if you have not already done so. I'm suggesting that, as a board, you should have serious discussions in closed session to determine who on the board is applying pressure to district staff other than the president, and what you're going to do about this conflict of interest issue before the November election. Your responsibility is to provide direction through policies adopted by the board for operating in the district through actions taken at board meetings. This does not give you permission or authority to meddle in staff operations or give directions to any district employee other than the superintendent. You are to develop the policies by which the educational programs for our children, staff, and other businesses of the district are carried out. You're not to violate the Brown Act by coalescing votes before public board meetings. Before I conclude my remarks, Mr. Tillman stated in his comment back October 2021 that he has given money to the Black Voice News. For the record, that statement is wrong and misleading to the public. The Black Voice News takes paid advertisement like The Sun, Precinct Reporter, West Side Story, American News, and El Chicano newspapers, and other legitimate businesses in our community. We do not beg or pressure anyone to advertise. They do so because of the credibility and the readership of our paper in the community and the population they want to reach. Our nonprofit, 501c3, Black Voice Foundation, offers Underground Railroad tours to Inland Empire education, to the Inland Empire education community. And many teachers and board members of this district have availed themselves of these tours. They have learned firsthand the untold history of what African Americans endured during the enslavement period in America from 1619 to Juneteenth, 1865. Since this is a majority board member decision, all you have to do, Mr. Tillman, is vote no as a member of the board for the educators who request to go on the education tours. For your information, this year alone, the foundation is on its 5th trip with school districts from Riverside and San Bernardino counties. So you as an individual of this board, Mr. Tillman, have not given my family anything. And the district has paid for a service that we offer. And we provide quality service in return to hundreds of educators in San Bernardino City Unified School District. Please stop thinking of yourself and make decisions that are in the best interest of our children and the community. Thank you. Hardy Brown, former school board trustee.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Vice President Tillman, question?
Thank you, Mr. Brown. And I'll put it in the form of a question. I'm assuming, because I read your paper, you had a picture, a nice picture of my wife and I, but under the caption, you had that she is the Chief Financial Officer of Center for Youth and Community Development. She is not. She worked there from 2018 to 2019. She is not an employee of the Center for Youth and Community Development. So I'm assuming that was just oversight.
He said he will correct that. That was the information that he had from some document.
Right, and the including the there was another article, and the whole gist of it, and the reason why it was important for people to tell the lie that she is a current employee is to make it seem like there was some type of conflict between me and Mr. Irvin, and there wasn't. My wife was never an employee of the Center for Youth Development.
Question? Is that a question?
No, I'm just making.
Okay.
I just want to make sure he knows this. So I'm just want to clarify, make sure he knows she was never an employee for the Center for Youth and Community Development while Mr. Irvin was here. So, and I agree with you in terms of when you say that I don't personally give Black Voice Underground Railroad any money. You don't. You're right. But I have always supported it. Like I support other programs in the district, and that's why you get my vote. I appreciate the work that you and your family have done in our district for years. And I don't apologize for that. Now, you may say, hey, I don't want your support, and I don't want your vote, but I still vote for it because I know the good that it does in the community. And all I ask for is fairness. And when I see a picture of myself and my wife, and it says that she's the Chief Financial Officer for the Center for Youth and Community Development, I have to ask the question, did you not know that was not true?
It was in the report. He said, thank you. It was in the report.
If that's the case, then the district needs to take action on the report because it's inaccurate.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tillman. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Any other questions for Mr. Brown? Oh, he's off. All right, Ms. Cunningham, next virtual comment.
Yes, our last comment is from Gabby Mercado. If you're available, please unmute.
Welcome, Ms. Mercado. Gabby.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
I was just wanting to say that I am a mother of 5 children, and they're all in the San Bernardino School District. My last 2 are twins, which they started kinder this year. And luckily, I was as hard as I worked to try to get an IEP meeting for them for special education classes, because I knew that they were having speech therapy problems as they were younger. And I struggled so much as a parent. I got the runaround from so many people, even from the pediatrician, to saying that I had to go to the schools. I contacted many people. I wasn't getting any help whatsoever. Finally, towards the end of last year, I was able to get a hold of somebody, which I don't even remember who helped me, but they helped me. They got them an IEP meeting, and they were placed in special education classes. One of them was going to be in general class with RSP and speech languages. The second twin was going to be sent to mild modern classes, which I ended up finding out last week that they were going to put him in mild to severe. And that's not the placement where he was supposed to be at. I started questioning. They started having me call different people, which they were just giving me the runaround from back and forth. Me as a parent, knowing that he was barely going to start. And I was a wreck. I was a mess. I didn't know what to do. I felt like I was going to have a nervous breakdown in every way because they're not accepting volunteers. And I didn't know what to do anymore. I started going to the schools personally, and they gave me runaround still. And when I finally found out that he was going to Parkside, I went in personally. They didn't even have a teacher that was going to be for my modern class. And it was a combo class with pre-K, kindergarten, and first grade. And I just felt like it was too much. I didn't know who to talk to. I remember last year I was able to talk to Sandra Rodriguez. And she told me, if you ever come across anything, please feel free as a parent to call me. And I did. And I got to say, thanks to her, this got resolved within 3 days. The first day of school, he was placed where he was supposed to be placed with the right people, with the right teacher. And I just want to say thank you. Because as a parent, believe me, I felt like I was failing him. And I got to say thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being there. And thank you for you guys doing your guys' job. And I know it is very, very hard, especially trying to point out every single problem that goes on for the school district. And you guys are not all to blame, because some of us are parents and we need to take responsibility for our children, what they do as well. And some of us don't see that. Your guys' job is very hard. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you, for making me feel comfortable once again and being able to send my kids peacefully to school in the right placement they're supposed to be. And that's pretty much it. I am just very thankful for you guys, and I know your guys' job is not easy at all.
Thank you, Ms. Mercado. We really do appreciate comments like those and the ability and the opportunity to serve as well. And Board Member Ms. Ceballos has a question for you, if you're still there, hopefully.
Yes, I am.
More of a comment, I guess. I kind of stepped away to get some warm water. It's kind of cold in here, so I might have missed this part. But I came in when you said something about volunteers not being allowed. And I just want to, I guess, reiterate, at the last board meeting that we had, I asked that specific question because you're not the only parent that had concerns about that. And the answer was that we are open to parent volunteers. And so I just want to reiterate that again here. And, hopefully you said that that's been resolved. Thank you to Dr. Rodriguez, if that's the case. But again, just wanting to reiterate that we are open. And that was stated at the last board meeting. So you should have access. And if you come across parents that are not being allowed on the campuses, then that needs to be brought to our attention as well, because they are to be allowed on the campuses.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Ceballos. And yes, that is true. We do allow parent volunteers. There's a process for it, and there are forms that they need to fill out, but we absolutely encourage it. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will definitely look into that. Thank you very much for that information.
All righty. Thank you again, Ms. Mercado. We appreciate your comment, and as well as all public comments this evening. And I believe there are no other public comments. Ms. Cunningham? Very good. All right, we'll be moving on to 3.0, closed session. 3.1, closed session public comments. Are there any closed session public comments?
There are none.
There are none. All right. Then we will adjourn to 3.2, closed session agenda. All righty, folks, we'll come back into session, open session. One announcement I didn't make earlier, and I do apologize for not doing so, because the transition was so smooth and so seamless, was that, I wanted to say thank you to Mr. Harold Sullen, first of all, for being our AIC the first month and, being the leadoff hitter for us. Great job, Mr. Sullen. And like I said, the transition was so smooth with Miss Anna Applegate coming in. I didn't even notice, the similarity in how they looked, but just kidding. But one has more hair than the other, so maybe they might still be related. But no, see, and even my colleagues are wondering what I'm talking about. But now, welcome Miss Applegate to our AIC position. And as we said many times over, we have the utmost confidence in our cabinet and I look forward to working with each and every one of you a little bit closer, and it's been a nice experience and definitely a closer relationship, I think, for us all.
So, Dr. Wyatt, what does that mean when one of the cabinet members is the AIC?
Well, basically what it means, and I could be corrected if I'm wrong, because I'm not, we'll say the expert on this, but is that they are working as the interim, basically superintendent at the time. So they have the decision and making power
They make
and
the
authority
decisions and
as
authority.
the superintendent would.
And they run the cabinet? Or they work with the cabinet?
Yes, they work with the cabinet, and then they work directly with the board president
Right.
and the board as well, executive cabinet, and definitely with the community and the staff as well.
So they're basically the superintendent, interim superintendent. Correct?
Acting in interim, yes. I know we call it a little bit different, but
I know, I know.
they do have that authority.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe that also includes signature authority as well.
Yes, okay, thank you.
And again, that was from the board, so we appreciate that. All righty. Thank you for those of you that are still out there watching us, because there's a couple left in the crowd here from another very brief closed session. We'll report out on 4.1, approval of adult school vice principal. Be it resolved, the Board of Education approved the appointment of the following employee, Kimberly Rosas, adult school vice principal, Inland Career Education Center, effective date, work year, and salary to be determined.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries. Congratulations to Ms. Rosas. We usually ask if they're present, but I don't think she is. But if she's watching, congratulations to you, and we're looking forward to working with you at our Inland Career Education Center. Okay, 4.2, other closed session action. There was no other closed session action, so we'll move forward to 5.0, reports by union organizations. 5.1, San Bernardino Teachers Association. Good evening, Ms. Akala.
You're on mute.
Thank you. I wasn't allowed to unmute.
That was Dr. Flores, by the way. I was trying to be patient. I'm just kidding.
Good evening, President Wyatt, Vice President Tillman, Mrs. Applegate, members of the board and cabinet. I'm Ashley Vitas Alcala, President of the San Bernardino Teachers Association. I'm speaking to you tonight on behalf of our 3,000 members. Our members were excited to welcome back our students yesterday to this brand new school year. And we hope that this year brings us more normalcy so that we can focus on what is most important. And that is creating safe and supportive school environments that allow our students to thrive. We've been through a lot as a community in the past several years. And we look forward to continuing to work together with the district to find solutions to meet the challenges of the moment, whatever they may be. I also would like to wish everyone, certificated and classified staff, students, parents, and our community, a wonderful 22-23 school year. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, and welcome back. All right, and just before we move on, I did get a message from Mr. Tillman that he had basically kind of a minor medical issue. He did step out for a little bit and had to go home, and he said he'll let me finish. So thanks a lot, Mr. Tillman. Hopefully you're feeling better. All right, 5.2, California School Employee Association.
Hello, good evening, school board members. My name is Robin Rucker, and I am the new treasurer of CSEA. We want to welcome back all classified staff, faculty, and students. Classified staff are excited and looking forward to a safe and productive school year. We just sent 5 delegates last week to our annual conference in Las Vegas. The theme of our conference was tied together as one. And as I thought about our theme, I was kind of pondering how can we as classified employees make our district even better? And how can our district better support our classified employees? And one of the things that, classified employees, we know, touch all of our stakeholders. And one of the things that stuck out to me is we need to kind of up our hiring of classified employees. At the school site, it feels like we're kind of a little bit robbing Peter to pay Paul. We're trying to shuffle and juggle staff, and it seems like of particular concern to our classified members, nutrition services, security, as a lot of the parents spoke about earlier, safety in our schools, our warehouse members, as well as our custodial staff. And if I'm being really transparent, when I go to like the Board of Ed and, look at the facilities there, everything is pretty pristine. Every blade of grass, every bath, everything's just very pristine. When you go out to the school sites, it seems like it's kind of a different class a little bit. We just don't have enough classified staff, and particularly our custodial staff. And so as our theme, like I said, for our conference, we are tied together as one. We appreciate the school board and the district and all of our stakeholders working together to help our CSEA members support our students and staff. And so we want to thank our board and our district personnel for everything they do for classified. That's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Rucker, and congratulations on being selected treasurer. And I would agree, every site, every facility needs to look the same and look pristine. I am quite sure all my colleagues up here would agree. All righty. Dr. Flores, I don't know if she's still there, but Dr. Flores.
Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
This is probably confirmed with Dr. Funches. How many custodial vacancies do we have?
I'm not sure the number. If you're asking me, I'm not sure the number of vacancies.
Right.
I just see at my site or just in sites in general, our process, it seems, for replacing custodial staff, for example, at our site, I'm at a high school, we have a custodian 3 and we have a custodian 1. If the custodian 3 is out, then they don't get a sub because of that position. They can't get a 3. So it just seems, and I don't know if it's call outs or whatever it is, it's a big difference. Like I said, when I go to the board, it looks beautiful. I go to the sites, where our students are, and we're greeting parents and everybody. There's a different class.
Thank you.
Dr. Flores,
Definitely thank you for sharing.
Dr. Flores, I do not have the vacancy log in front of me, but the Personnel Commission working with M&O has put a significant dent in the custodial vacancies. I can give you a full report on Friday in the Friday update. And we are aware as classified employees transition to other jobs, it's a position that we continually have to recruit for and fill and backfill. So I think we've made some strides there. We'll give you a complete update on that Friday.
Okay. I thank you for bringing the concern, because it is important that all our schools, are clean and are healthy environments for our kids, and also beautiful, and safe as well. So thank you.
Rucker, we have a question, I believe, from board member Ms. Ceballos.
Okay.
More of a comment, really, and it's actually to Dr. Funches. I did see recently a posting online. I can't remember if it was Parent Square or just social media or something like that, where you are going to be having like a job fair for those specific positions. Is that correct, or did I? Well,
you may have seen the Personnel Commission advertising virtual interview processes and how to get people ready for interviews. However, we are working with the Personnel Commission to implement another career event or recruitment event, and you should hear a little bit more about that soon.
Oh,
And
okay.
we
So
will
it wasn't a career event necessarily. It was just to.
Correct. That's my understanding. To get people prepared to interview virtually and in other ways.
Got it. Okay. So, but you are looking at doing
Correct.
that soon. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Ms. Biles. Thank you, Dr. Funches. And let's try to find some folks from our community right here in San Bernardino City. That would be great. And thank you again, Ms. Organ. Great to see you. And I like your shirt, looking sharp up there. So, all right, way to represent.
Thank you.
Have a great year and welcome back. 5.3, Communication Workers of America.
No report.
All righty. 5.4, San Bernardino School Police Officers Association.
No report.
Fantastic. 6.0, reports and presentations. 6.1, back to school 2022-2023 presentation. All right, looking forward to this one. And this will be, let me see who it was. I apologize. I should have done a better introduction. Well, it doesn't tell me. All right, I'm thinking it's Miss Applegate. Come on, Anna.
Thank you very much, President Wyatt. And so what we wanted to do, board, tonight was exactly what you've asked us to do, is to really start highlighting what we're doing around teaching and learning, around safety, around all those things that are really contributing to a wonderful first day back to school. And I just want to open up by saying this has been just a total collaborative effort with our managers, our teachers, our community. But I really wanted to highlight our labor partners as well, our unions. We've done quite a bit with SBTA, CSEA, Communication Workers of America. Our school police officers have been very responsive. So I'm very proud to bring you our successful back to school. So far, we've had some wonderful reviews as to our first day of school. Next slide, please. So today, board, we're going to highlight the collaborative efforts, as I've mentioned, to reopen our schools for this next school year. And then we're also going to provide some updates that you've asked for as well for COVID-19 safety and how we're keeping our students and staff safe. Next slide, please. So one of the first things that you've asked for quite a bit, I know that you are a board that's very, very highly concerned with our student achievement and making sure, I know you have several questions many times about academics and how our students are doing. So we really want to go back to focusing on teaching and learning. So looking at reimagining teaching and what we can do to make things better. So just picture a brand new teacher coming into our district. We've had so many different tools and support systems available to them. So we've aligned our curriculum guides, TK through 12, really highlighting power standards. If you're a new teacher, you know exactly the standards that need to be taught, but you're given the autonomy to teach the way you need to teach for your students. Where we've also aligned our district-wide assessment system, as you know, with NWEA. It's a K-12 assessment now, so we're looking at similar data. We're focusing on excellence and equity. We want to make sure that we're focusing in the areas where our student achievement shows that we need growth: math, English language arts, and English language development. We also are really attending to social emotional learning. Dr. Rodriguez and her team are working very collaboratively with educational services because we know that our students have great needs, and we want to make sure that we're meeting those social emotional needs so that they can be at school and be ready to learn as well. And our district has also really pushed for a well-implemented multi-tiered system of support. As you know, Tier 1 instruction is valuable instruction, irreplaceable. We want to make sure that all of our students have the same high-quality instruction, and then add the layers that students need according to needs, so Tier 2 and Tier 3 as well. So that continues to be a big focus in our district. And then also making sure that our professional learning, next slide, please, making sure that our professional learning is relevant and that our educators are involved in the creation of professional learning. So we are really reinvigorated, and we had over 3,000 educators participate in our last professional learning here this last month, making sure that we're highlighting universal design for learning. Again, that's the focus on excellence and equity, making sure that we are preparing learning opportunities for all of our students, regardless of where they are, but moving them forward. And so we also want to continue with our professional learning communities. We want all of our educational partners at the school sites to be involved in the professional learning. So we take very seriously what their needs are and how they help co-develop these professional learning experiences along with site leaders and other teachers at the site. And again, embedding social emotional learning in everything we do, because we know that that's not a separate issue that we need to deal with. It's foundational to what we do with our students. So preparing a very well-rounded professional learning experience for our teachers. So we are glad that we had a wonderful presenter in Nicole Tucker-Smith, UDL champion, and I think that she presented to our principals as well as our teachers. So we're very happy to have her as well. And with that, so that's kind of the push from Ed Services to get our teachers ready for the first day of school. I will hand that over to Dr. Funches now.
Thank you, Mrs. Applegate and board. I'll jump in here on something that's near and dear to your heart in terms of us bringing in the most qualified or highly qualified educators and staff to the district. We know that it's very important to you, as you just spoke to the CSEA representative about staffing and such. We know that it's important to you as well to not only bring in highly qualified staff members, but to also retain them. And one of the things that we've been focusing on is doing just that. Based on the current environment for staffing, people have options. People can seek employment where they so choose. But studies do show that high levels of employee engagement from the start results in not only attracting the best and the brightest, but employee retention. And so human resources has in my opinion, a world-renowned, if you will, onboarding process where we bring in our new teachers for 3 days and talk to them about the importance of connecting with the community, connecting with our scholars, making sure that they know what's expected of them and what we need from them. The same with our managers. As you see there, our new certificated managers, directors, principals, giving them 3 days of important information, highly engaged information around purpose, around the why for working in San Bernardino, and building a high-powered, empowered workforce. And then also our new certificated orientation. 65 employees have gone through that, and even more. We do that several times per year to make sure that our employees know that we value them and engage them from the start with high levels of coaching, mentoring, and onboarding. And then finally, our certificated evaluation training, where we get our managers spun up or acclimated to how do we make sure that our employees, when we bring them in, are engaged from the start, know what the expectations are of them, and then give them the tools, skills, and resources necessary to do well. And if we continue that, we will not only see this empowered workforce that we envision, but we'll also see higher levels or higher numbers of retention in our district. So that's what we've been doing, what we'll continue to do. And pretty soon we want to bring the board a report of our staffing on certificated and classified and management to let you know the progress and success that we have. Thank you. And I'll turn that over to Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Dr. Funches. So we know that COVID is with us and probably here to stay. And so many of our families are very concerned about the spread of COVID. And we want to assure them and the board that we continue to focus on following the California Department of Public Health K-12 guidance, along with the San Bernardino County Department of Public Health safety protocols. We ask that all families make sure that they screen their child prior to coming to school. And if they do exhibit any symptoms, we ask that parents keep their students home. That's our first line of defense. And if they have concerns about their students contracting COVID, they have the option of picking up a rapid test that we are providing for free at all of our schools. We continue to provide face coverings. We continue to sanitize workspaces and classrooms. And through the innovation of our board, we want to thank all of you for being committed to the safety of our students by having air purifiers of hospital grade in every single classroom and office in this school district. These air scrubbers are another line of defense in our classrooms to ensure that students are safe and can continue to learn in their classroom. As I mentioned earlier, we do have rapid tests available. At this point in time, we have an inventory of over 100,000 test kits. In each test kit, there are 2 tests, and those are available for our families, students, and staff. All they have to do is ask for them. If we have a student who needs them for their entire family, we also provide those. We continue to have COVID liaisons at in our district. We've moved to a cluster model of support. And so because of that, we have our COVID liaisons rotating between 2 to 3 schools. And if there is additional assistance needed at a particular school because of a high infection rate, we're able to pull resources and provide better service to those campuses that have multiple students who may have concerns with COVID. As of yesterday, I'm sure all of you are wondering, what did it look like yesterday? So it was reported that we had 36 positive cases of COVID for students and 15 staff. Now, I want to remark that these students did not come to school, nor did these staff. So these infection rates were all done prior to the beginning of school. So the students and staff did not contract COVID to our knowledge as school was closed prior to today. Next slide, please. Another big focus of this board has been the commitment to make sure that we have quality before and after school programs in our schools. And we know that we have a very working class community that really counts on having quality childcare for their children. And we are so excited because of the board's commitment that we've been able to offer our Sunrise programs in all of our elementary schools. That means that our students can come to school at 7:15 and get breakfast before they actually start their day at school. And so they have that supervision so parents can drop off their child in the morning and they're well taken care of before they start school. We continue to also offer CAPS. Now, this year, a little different because now we have CAPS at every single one of our district campuses, elementary, middle, and high. And that is all through our ELOP, the Extended Learning Opportunities Program grant that allows us to do that. In addition to offering it that way, we wanted to be a little bit more specific. So because of our TK initiative, and we know that we have AM and PM kindergarten, all of those students also now have access to our CAPS programs. So students who are in TK, and we know that their parents are able to pick them up after school, they're able to stay at our schools until 6 o'clock. And so that's a great opportunity for our students to continue to have safe environments that are supervised, protected, and fun, as well as great learning environments for our kids. Last year, as you know, was our first year back from COVID. And so we started the school year, we had 324 youth leaders and about 3,800 scholars that were part of our CAPS program. And through the hard work and dedication of our CAPS team led by Ann Pearson, this year we started with 629 youth leaders who will serve approximately 9,000 students, 9,000 students in our district. We continue to enroll. In fact, we just got another couple hundred just this, in these past few days. And as you can see there, as of yesterday, we had over 6,600 applications, and 4,000 of those were just submitted last week. So we continue to enroll students. We know that it is important for our families. You may ask, what about the waiting lists? We're doing our best to eliminate waiting lists. We do have one of our clusters, one of our providers who is having some difficulty in hiring. We're working with that person, and we are doing our best to make sure that we're offering quality programs every single day at every single school so that we are people of our word, and we know that this is the board's commitment to do so. I will now pass it over to Sam Presi.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. My apologies, Mr. Presi. I did have a light on, and so I was talking to Ms. Applegate here, looking for a natural break to get some questions in real quick here.
All right. No, thank you so much for the presentation so far. I look forward to the rest of it, but only because we're touching on the subject of COVID. And I'm glad that our sites, our district is ensuring, safety, of course, and rapid tests. But I know that the big conversation now is also towards monkeypox, and I believe in, and I'm glad that Mr. Solons mentioned that in San Bernardino County, it seems like there's only one case, and that's in Fontana. But there are in Riverside County that's close by, that isn't too far, that apparently it may seem like there's more cases there. So I just, and I'm sure the district is monitoring this and checking, but maybe giving some resources if we do see something in our area to please let us know. and maybe provide some preventive measures in order to protect in that case too as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales Medina, and I'll make mine real quick. Just for clarification purposes, on that last bullet up there, for the CAPS program, it says we have 6,600 applications with 4,000 submitted last week. So is it total 6,600 or 4,000 more for 10,600?
So we had 9,000 enrolled. So this would be in addition. Yeah, so this is in addition. So we have 6,000 applications, and of those 6,000, 4,000 were just submitted last week. So this is in addition to the 9,000 that have already been.
That's in addition to the 9,000.
Correct. And so they have really been working very hard to provide quality programs. And I believe our push and as well as some of our summer programming have really helped to get kids excited about our programs, as well as having more of a ownership at our school sites. And again, we have people who are enrolled because they've enrolled during the summer. We had QR codes, so we're still enrolling. It does take some time to make sure that the application has been inputted, as well as making sure that we have the ability to offer supper for them. So that's still a process. But we're building capacity to be able to serve more students in our district. We have the money. We
I just want to
sure
wrap
it's
my
safe.
head around this. That's potentially almost 16,000 students.
Correct.
Wow. And the reason why I ask is that's like closing in on a third of our students in the district. And I know we have the ELOP funds. Thank God for that, because then we just had obviously a very in-depth conversation about CAPS program and capacity. Now that's what I'm looking at. Can we deliver on 16,000 students? Great job. I'll say great job getting kids signed up. That's super exciting because we want a safe place to go before and after school. We just got to make sure as a board we deliver and support you on that. Dr. Daddy Rogers.
Thank you. And just in addition to the conversation about how many students, how different is that from what it was in our regular enrollment? Have we exceeded that, doubled it, tripled it? What?
Are you talking about enrollment for last year?
Well, that's kind of off. I'm just kind of dealing with our average real world, versus pre-COVID. More looking at pre-COVID.
That I do not know.
Okay.
But again, remember, we did not offer it at every school prior. We didn't have it. We didn't have Sunrise.
Mm-hmm.
So we've added additional programming. So it's not like we're offering the same program when we have more kids. We have more opportunities for students to participate. So that is what's opening up the numbers, because again, remember last year and years prior, we did not offer Sunrise programs at all of our schools. Now we have that ability to do that. And then also in years past, we only had ACES money. And so ACES money was a grant and it was tied to attendance. ELOP opens the door for more kids. So we have a lot of opportunity. And, as far as capacity, as we examine the numbers of students who are coming through and the need, we will open up RFP so that we can have more providers come in. And
that's
so
definitely the next question is that can we handle it? The room capacities? I mean, where are people at, when they come in there? Because I'm sure you're going to have you need the space. I mean, that's a lot of students. And then lastly, so what was TK looking like for the first day? How was the TK report?
Okay, so TK caps, you're asking?
Yeah.
So varying. So we had some that had 4 kids, and some that had 17 kids. And fortunately, we had an opportunity for them to experience play. So I was able to go to one of our schools today to actually see some of our TKers. And so the socialization, the playhouse, building blocks, opening books and trying to read them. So you saw a lot of that.
Okay.
So it was really nice to be able to see that, we're serving now a population that would have been at home in years past.
Right.
So it's really opening up our opportunities to serve and better prepare our students before they come to us in kindergarten.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Dr. Daddy Rogers. Ms. Ceballos?
Thank you. I just have a really quick question. This is really impressive, and I'm really glad that, we've had the ability to expand on this because of that additional funding. And just for clarity, I guess, Sunrise is currently available for all elementary schools only, correct?
Correct. We are looking to expand Sunrise as we go to the late start schedule. And so as that becomes part of the plan, we will then plan accordingly.
And then the next question that I had, enrollment, is that only because I'm seeing here that, some individuals had enrolled over the summer and then some last week. Do we have open enrollment throughout the year, or does it close at some point?
It has to be open for all students every day. And we also have to have an additional 30 days of programming for our students. And it's the way that it works is you don't have to have a student go every single day. You can have a student drop in, but it still has to be available to them. So we will monitor that. Right now we have capacity. We do have some issues with personnel with one of our vendors, and we're working with them, and they've told us that they should be at capacity by Friday. And we're augmenting with district personnel to be able to serve those students. We do not want to turn kids away. We do not want to tell families that, we're under delivering and over promising. So we are doing our best to make sure that we're offering it to all students who need it.
Okay, so the enrollment is open for all throughout the year for all that are interested. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ceballos. Dr. Flores?
Yes, I wanted to commend Mrs. Applegate for the monumental lift of reimagining teaching and learning, because it's not an easy task to get all our teachers involved in aligning the curriculum and, and also aligning the assessment. I know it's been in the works for a long, long time, and now it's come together. And, professional development is really important, and that's part of it. And the focus on the 3 areas of math, English arts, and English language development, that's, tremendous. And of course, embedding the social emotional learning. And I have to say that the multi-tiered systems of support are very key. I've read the research, and the research says that any districts that have these multi-tiered systems are going to move the dial on our kids' achievement. So I just want to commend you and your directors, coordinators, and of course all our teachers and all of our administrators, our paraprofessionals, because it literally does take a village to support the academic achievement and the social emotional learning of our students. And I talked to some teachers, and they're all excited. They were, excited to get back. I said, "Are you tired?" "Oh no, we're excited to get back." And I asked my granddaughter, and she goes, "I'm happy. I'm happy with my teacher, with my classmates." And so anyway, they're happy. So I just want to commend all of you, and the cabinet, all of the work that you've done. Every cog is really important. The HR, the CAPS. Now we're going to learn about facilities. We all have to work in sync. So I just very commend all of you. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Flores, and thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. I know that was quite a few questions and great information. Thank you for being patient, Mr. Precy.
Of course. Yeah. Actually, I was actually going to start with commending the board. So regarding your guys' leadership and direction and authorization for these fantastic improvements that we performed over the last few months. Just want to make sure we're on the right slide. But what you see up here is new science classrooms, significant investment at Pacific High School. So we have the new science classrooms, interior courtyard, as well as a transportation and technology building. And if you guys have an opportunity, the transportation technology building is definitely a sight to see. 21,000 square feet, 4 laboratories, a large automotive and testing diagnostics bay. You got to take a look at it. It's definitely something, it's a premier facility. So you're definitely going to want to take a look at those. Other improvements we had was over at Del Rosa Kinder and Administration Building. So we have a new admin building, new kinder areas, 3 classrooms, playground space, new parking lot, and other site improvements that was performed. Warm Springs, one of the district's oldest campuses. We have a new MU room, cafeteria, kitchen area. We also have a new single point of entry and administration, parking lot, and other site improvements. And that is just about ready to be turned over as well. So a lot of fantastic opportunities and investment into the district. So thank you guys for that. Next slide, please. So operations is definitely, summertime is our busy time of the year. It's break time for a lot of folks, but this is when we turn it into high gear and we get to work. So we have all the campuses that are vacated from students and staff, and it's an opportunity to get in there and perform a lot of maintenance, a lot of needed items that have accumulated over the year. So definitely have parking lot replacements at multiple campuses. It's just a photo of one site. New flooring that we've installed in multiple areas. We actually, through our summer clean program, we're actually able to do a lot of our hard surface floor care, which hasn't been done in many years. And again, to HRs and PCs support, along with the M&O custodial management team, we're able to bring in and bolster some of our vacancies that we've had. So we actually had staffing to perform our cleaning as well as perform some of the floor care. So, and I'm going to do a shout out here to some of our staff here in a little bit, but new carpet at San Andreas. Xeriscape, we've been hearing about the drought restrictions. So what are we doing about it from a district perspective? We're changing out some of the turf in the frontage areas. We met with the water districts. We had conversations regarding grant opportunities and what we can qualify for. So we're actually, they set aside 25%, and then we're actually looking at potentially up to 50% of their grant program is going to go to our district, which is a fantastic opportunity for us. So we're going to take them up on that offer and implement Xeriscape at some of our sites. We piloted it at 4 different sites, so this is just 2 of them, but we have 4 sites that we're piloting the program, learning a little bit because these are the first times we're introducing Xeriscape with our own staff, so we're training our staff as well as implementing it. And now that we got the first 4, we're going to be looking at continuing that process as the school year goes, and as probably will roll into next year as well. Next slide, please. For transportation, just comes some stats here for you to take a look at, but 71 big bus routes, 121 minibus routes, and our ridership is up this year to 9,800 students. So a pretty significant amount of students are on our busing systems. One thing that the board had asked us to do for this particular year, it was around November, December-ish, is we wanted to make sure that we didn't have any impact to our parents and students as they rotate into this next year. So what we said is all stops and services will remain status quo. So whoever had a stop at whatever location last year will continue with that service moving this year. So we wanted to make sure that we heard the board's request and we fulfilled that. Also, in addition to that, we've added some additional busing services. So we're increasing busing service for Sankofa, TK, as well as dual immersion. Next slide, please. This is going to be hard for you guys to see. Sorry, the print was kind of small, but I try to fit as many names in there as possible because we had a lot of folks that, like I said, rose to the occasion. And I already had a conversation with the CSCA earlier this week and wanted to congratulate them on all their members that really came through for the district. We had a very smooth opening, and hats off to a lot of our classified staff members that worked the weekends, worked night shifts when they were on day shift. They worked a lot of extra hours. Some folks were working 6 days a week throughout the entire summer. And as you know, that's typically when our kids are out. So they weren't able to spend a lot of time with the kids. So I wanted to recognize our CSA staff for really dedicating their summer to the district to make sure that our opening on August 1st was a success. So thank you to our CSCA and classified staff members. And I believe I'm turning it over to Ms. Ontiveros.
All righty. Well, it looks like we got a few lights here. So, Mr. Priestley, you know what that means. You're a popular person. You're going to get some questions. Dr. Flores.
So thank you for your update. My questions are for transportation. I know that I got several concerns from parents on dual immersion at San Bernardino High busing. Has that been resolved? Are the kids being bused?
I think I'm going to have to take a look at that. I believe it has been, but I want to make sure I'll include it on a Friday update and make sure that it has
Okay.
been taken care of.
And also, I've gotten about 3 inquiries from parents whose children won the lottery, the IB lottery at Cesar Chavez, and they don't. I wonder, they would like transportation, and I don't know, Dr. Wyatt. If I know we provide transportation for Richardson and for Rodriguez. So my question is, why don't we provide transportation for Cesar Chavez? And I'm not sure, about Serrano or Shandon Hills, if there are special programs or not there as well. So I just would like to know, if we can, there's more, the parents told me there are more people, not just them, there are just a few that are vocal, but there are other parents that have that concern. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. We'll definitely look into that, and I'll work with Mr. Sellens on that.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. Ms. Rosales Medina.
Yes, and I think I was hearing the same thing when it comes to transportation. There was a lot of students that the buses were late. Some of them arrived to school extremely late. Some of them, so I was just curious to see if it's traditionally that's what happens the first couple of days of school. And if that's the case, I know it's hard. We're competing with other school districts to get bus drivers and get busing. So I know that piece. I'm just wondering if what I don't want is students to be, or even children, young, that are waiting at the bus stop for such a long time. Just checking on that and making sure that we're making those corrections. And then, of course, I know Ms. Ceballos and another board member was part of the transportation committee. If they can get together again, I know it's been a while since they probably met, and that way they can really look at, especially when we're looking at for the next school year of the high school or the middle school and high school late start, what that's going to look like. So I would suggest that the transportation committee start to get together again.
Yeah, the first day we anticipated that there was going to be some late deliveries. I think it was a special as far as hours go. It was an exception. It's definitely not the expectation, which then, unfortunately, with the release times being very similar, very close in time, it didn't give us an opportunity. So we did send out notifications to all the parents in advance of the opening, to letting them know that we're expecting anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour late delivery. I think even the news put that on some of their newscasts indicating that, because we did recognize, given the schedule that was approved, it kind of put transportation in a position where we knew that we were going to have some late services because everyone was getting out at the same time.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales Medina. Dr. Flores?
Yeah, I forgot to ask, another questions that were raised by parents was the sibling rule. If siblings go to the same, like middle school or middle college, or can they also go together? Or I don't know what the policy is, and I imagine. Can you tell me? Yeah, both transportation and
Yeah, siblings do have preference when they enroll to a certain school. We do give them preference.
They can. And
Yes.
who do they contact?
The enrollment center, I
The
believe.
enrollment center,
Yeah,
Dr. Rodriguez or Mr. Buckley? And he knows the rule. Okay. And of course they'll come back to me if they don't get satisfaction, and then I'll text you.
So just for clarification, those lotteries are done through secondary ed. And
Okay.
so we work with Dr. Venkatesan on those types of transfers. And so those are special outside of the regular enrollment process, but we do work collaboratively with them.
So if they're not getting that service, they need to contact who?
To contact secondary ed, Sudha Venkatesan.
Okay, doctor, okay. All right, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. Ms. Ceballos?
Just really quickly, you may or may not have this information off the top of your head, and that's fine. If you don't, just, get back to us, I guess. In terms of the 71 buses and the 121 buses that are circulating, how many students do those buses service? Because I know that, can't remember if it was last year or the year before, in some of these buses, they were less than half of, occupancy. We were transporting like very small number of students. And I know that some of these buses are, quite expensive. And again, we want to make sure that we provide our students with what they need. But I do recall, back when the committee was getting together, one of the big issues that had come up, that had been evident for me in those meetings was that providing additional transportation was kind of a Band-Aid to the underlying issue. And the underlying issue being, why are we having parents from X side of the city wanting to send their kids to the other side of the city? And it was an issue of program accessibility in their neighborhoods. So I hope that, we still want to make sure that we take care of our students, but I hope that we're also looking at solving that underlying issue of equity and so forth. And so I don't know kind of like where we're at with that. I think that that's something that, as we take on this issue of transportation more and more, I would like to see the number of buses that we're needing decrease versus increase over the years, especially if we're not utilizing them to full capacity, right? And that's because we're providing quality programs at our local schools for everyone. So I don't know if that's something that somebody can, kind of respond to in terms of like, what are we doing in terms of making sure that we're either assessing the programs that are super popular so that we can replicate them at, some of those schools where parents are coming from, or what is the plan there?
It's definitely a big question, and it's going to have a lot of answers. Some of it we'll be able to answer tonight. I think others we're going to have to take that as an action item and then continue on with the project moving forward. But as far as the number of services or the number of students we're servicing is 9,800, 9,838 as of today. And that number is going to fluctuate and adjust. It may go up and it also may go down depending as the weeks go out. We're also in the empty seat process, so there's a lot of requests for additional ridership. So as we go through and figure out what the enrollment's going to look like at the different school sites, what the capacity on each individual route is looking like, and then we're trying to match some of the requests for the empty seat into those particular programs, still allowing some overflow for any additional enrollment that may qualify for transportation. We want to make sure that we don't have somebody on a bus that's taking a seat for somebody who, per board policy, is supposed to be on a bus outside of an empty seat program. And that's kind of the process that Dr. Flores was talking about, the empty seat program. As far as the programs and we're talking about root cause, cause and effect, so to speak. And I think transportation is on the effect side. And we're trying to like patch some of the holes to help along with the process. But definitely, I think you're correct. I think we need to go upstream a little bit to determine what is causing those particular situations that we find ourselves in and try and see if we can resolve those from a systemic issue. But I'll probably defer to the cabinet members to maybe speak on what the next steps would be.
Just so you know, Mr. Bios, we have had discussions in cabinet about just that because of enrollment. We want a comprehensive approach to make sure that we have equitable programs in all schools. But again, we need to look at facilities, making sure that we have the classrooms to, put the programs at the different school sites. So it is part of a larger conversation that we've already embarked on. So we are moving forward with planning on how that might happen.
And I appreciate that response. Does that mean that at some point, and when would that be, that we'd be privy to some of
that planning or your conversations or thinking, planning, whatever has been going on behind the scenes.
And because it's such a comprehensive process, I think we need to go back and maybe put some timelines into place. After we have timelines, then we can come to the board and really get more of your feedback for some of the plans. But as of right now, we're just in the beginning discussion stages of that. But I think we can probably put in some timelines and some goals that we might have toward that.
I would appreciate that. And I don't know, I'm, just one board member up here. I, would defer back to my colleagues here and, see if that's something that we want to, seriously pursue so that we can establish some of those timelines. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ceballos, and thank you, Mr. Prisi. All righty, Ms. Ontiveros.
Well, good evening, board. I definitely want to recognize you for the frequent challenges you've given us to communicate better with our families, to be more clear about what we're sharing with them, and to be more frequent and to touch them in multiple ways. And our communications department heard you and responded very well in this lead up to the start of the school year. I want to share some of those highlights with you. I'm sure that many of you saw the robust Countdown to Reopening campaign that we did on social media. This month-long series of posts included some inspiring quotes. We promoted a lot of different district events in order to help make sure that our families could access resources that were available through them. We also produced that really cute video of our students, making sure that all of our families and staff knew that that school starts on August 1st. We thought that was really cute and appreciated the team putting that together. In response to a safety concern, we quickly worked with district police to put together some reassuring information about the supports that they provide to make sure that all of our families are safe and our students are safe in our schools every day. We delivered school handbooks to all of our schools on time for the first day of school to make sure that all of our families have important policies at their fingertips, produced welcome back banners that were hung at every one of our schools, and I want to thank our business services team for that great idea. We also produced back-to-school editions of staff newsletters and parent newsletters that went out to all of our families. We mailed letters home to all of our homes so that our families would know about school and what we're doing to get ready. Produced a welcome video from all of our district leaders to say welcome back to our families and to our employees. And then last week, we're able to celebrate the work that our entire district did to pull everything together for the start of school with our employee event at the 66ers. And so it's been a really busy summer for our team, but I really want to commend them for the great work that they've done to make sure that our families and our staff was prepared and excited about the start of the new school year. So thank you very much for challenging us to be better. I think we rose to that occasion. And I think I'm turning it over to Mr. Sullins.
Thank you, Ms. Ontiveros. Before I begin, I would like to defer my time to Dr. Funches, who has an answer to a question posed by Dr. Flores earlier.
I had a quick update on the custodial and pulled up the vacancy log, and I know that was important to you, Mr. Bios, as well. So right now on the vacancy log that just hit the airwaves yesterday were 4 vacancies for custodial. So hats off to the Personnel Commission and the district for putting in the work to recruit and hire and retain custodial staff. We have much more work to do. Give you a comprehensive report on Friday.
So can I ask you a question? Have we done an analysis of how many more custodians we need?
At this time, according to our staffing formula, we would be appropriately staffed at the sites and in our departments. If we want to consider working with M&O to take a look at something different, we're able to do that as well. I don't want to misspeak, but that's always an option.
Does that mean you're going to investigate it?
We can, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. I just wanted to say, Ms. Ontiveros, I hope that it's automatic that everything goes out in Spanish as well, because I got a lot of texts from parents that felt offended that we weren't posting simultaneously in Spanish as well. I mean, not just a few, a lot. So I appreciate it. They would appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Flores and Mr. Solon.
Thank you, Dr. Wyatt.
Almost there.
You've heard a lot of great things that we've done to prepare for the start of school, to welcome our students back, our families back, and our staff back. So in addition to that, we wanted to bolster our efforts to have a very successful start of school. So what we did was we secured and deployed over 200 volunteers from district departments across the district to provide support to our school sites on the opening day and ensure there was a successful start. So you can see some examples in the pictures there where staff were out at sites, but just to give the board some perspective, some of the things that our volunteers did when they went to the school site, they served as greeters, they welcomed our families, they helped students find their classrooms, they helped serve meals, and even helped dry some tears. Some of our parents were inconsolable as they dropped off their kids. So very thankful to our volunteers for stepping up and supporting our school sites. And a special thanks to Mr. Sam Precy, who actually facilitated the volunteer effort to make sure that we had a fleet of staff ready to support our school sites, our students, and our families. Next slide, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back. Previous slide. I would be remiss if I did not give some shine to my cabinet mates who also deployed around the district, and we broke the district in clusters to make sure we hit every school site on the first day of school to show our support and just check in and make sure that everything went smoothly. And we were very pleased with the results when you went to school site to school site. The welcoming environments, the balloons, the staff, the friendly welcome, the signs, really a festive environment, a real celebration as we brought our kids back to school. So very excited and appreciative to our cabinet colleagues. It was a heavy lift, but it was well received as we were able to see the great things happening in our school sites on day one and day two. Next slide, please. So with that, as many of you know, we did have some local media at our school sites. And so we were one of the first districts to start school, early August. And so part of that, we hosted several news outlets. You can see from the slide, Fox 11, ABC 7, Channel 4, Telemundo, and Channel 5. And so we had several district personnel, cabinet members, as well as district police. We had Sergeant Robert Arellano from district police, Miss Anna Sosa, principal from San Bernardino High School, Dr. Sandra Rodriguez, pictured there, from Student Services, Dr. Marcus Funches, who I stayed up late last night to watch him go through and welcome our students back, as well as Miss Anna Applegate, our Assistant Super Ed Services and AIC, and Maria Garcia, who's our Communications Officer. So kudos to everyone who really were able to get the message out about the great things happening in our schools in San Bernardino, letting our families know about the great programs with CAPS, as well as the safety protocols that we have deployed to ensure our students and staff were welcomed back safely. And with that, all in all, I'd like to say that it was a very successful start of school. And credit goes to everyone, our dedicated staff, our bargaining partners, our administrators, the school board for their support and their trust in our efforts. It was a great welcome back for all. And I just want to appreciate everybody for all of their hard work and dedication. This was a heavy lift, but when you showed up to school on the first day, it was well worth it. And we got to see the great results of those efforts. So with that, I am going to bring you home with a video that was produced by our communications department. Highlights our first day of school.
Wow. Well, team, thank you for a very comprehensive presentation and a lot of information. You know, it's beginning the school year, and I'll tell you, as I was watching that video, it turned back the clock a little bit for me, and they grow up so fast. I know we say that all the time, and gosh, I miss those days when they were little. But so for our staff out there and families, enjoy, because these are special times for our kids as they grow up in our district and as we prepare them for their future. So great job to our staff, and again, welcome back to everyone. All righty, we'll move on to 7.0, board discussion, search service firms, and 7.1, top 3 search service firms. And you should have a handout there with you. And, you know, we kind of did a little ranking there based on the responses we received, because some of them didn't receive responses. So we tried to still judge it fairly based on the numbers that were given to us. And as you could see, the low number again would be the top score in this case, not the high number. And so, you know, if we kind of filled in the blanks, we might be able to change those numbers, but based on what we see, you know, can we make a determination on next steps? And I did talk to Mr. Tillman on his responses. He said that he trusted the board to make the determination, meaning the rest of us. So, you know, I'd like to open up for discussion, observation, and thoughts. Ms. Rosales Medina.
Great. No, at least this was really helpful. I know some of the board members didn't put, because I think it was some confusion with all 6, not necessarily you had to do all of them, but what I looked at was the top 2, which of course is with CSBA, is McPherson and Johnson and Jacobson, and the ESS consulting group, which is with Atkinson, Anderson, Loyal, Rod, and Romo. But when you look at the number of ones and the number 2 that was associated with that one, CSBA actually, even though the average is 1.6, is has the most votes. That's in the higher range versus the Atkinson. So, I mean, I would suggest that we push for CSBA.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales Medina. Dr. Dowdy Rogers.
I would agree.
Great feedback. Thank you, Dr. Dowdy Rogers. Anyone else? Ms. Ceballos, I think you beat out Dr. Flores. Ms. Ceballos.
I would just agree as well.
Great feedback. Just kidding. I love brevity right now. Dr. Flores.
I checked with colleagues, and they both ranked both of these firms high. But, you know, they both were rated high. So I'll go with the majority of my board.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. And so we've gotten feedback from 4 out of 5. And, you know, you see my score right there as well on CSBA. So I don't know if we need a presentation from them. That would be my next step. Or do we want to meet with them prior to, you know, setting everything up and before we make our final decision on them?
You didn't make me green yet. I'm not green.
Dr. Dowdy Rogers, okay. I'm missing my partner here, my helper. So, but there you go. You were next. I was looking at you.
I think that was some information that was sent out too. That, you know, the willingness to give a presentation. So I think that would be nice to hear, so we can hear a little bit more information about what they have.
And then the public could see it as well, right?
I think.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Dr. Dowdy Rogers. Oh, whoop. She's still green on mine. So let me shift gears there, Dr. Flores. There you go.
I would concur with Dr. Rogers that we interview them and, you know, talk with them about, you know, how they go about it and so forth. I would like us to recommend that we invite them so that we can not just interview them, but just talk with them and ask them, you know, how they work and so forth. Yeah.
All righty. Well, if I have consensus from the board, that'll be our next step. Yeah. All righty. And we will, gosh, I was thinking we did have some contact with them as well, just, for legal representation. So there's two totally different issues, but I'll make sure to bring that up, that there has been some discussion, and we'll be taking other steps on that. So, but this one is immediate, so we'll make sure to reach out to them. I'll be honest with you, I'm not familiar with them, so I will defer probably to our colleagues, our executive cabinet, specifically Dr. Funches, and then work with him on setting that up. Does that sound like a plan? All righty, let's keep moving then. Thank you. 8.0, mandated policy revisions. 8.1, mandated policy requirements. And let me see if I got any readout on there. And I will turn that over. Who is that going to go to? Ms. Applegate?
No, that
That one's gone, right?
8.1?
No, mandated policy
Oh, no,
is
it's 8.2, I thought.
8.2 was pulled.
Yeah, it was
Because I didn't
8.1.
see anything in there.
I know, I don't see anything either.
We pulled 8.2, and so we're only really going to be voting on
Oh, there it is now.
8.3. And
Because
so
there's
8.3, we
Oh,
did
okay, sorry
make
about that. There we go.
changes based on Ed Code to be in compliance with Ed Code. There is a version there for you to see. What you will notice is that there's language around making sure that we are not denying students the opportunity to participate in programs due to a student's pregnancy, childbirth, etc. It also outlines reasonable accommodations for students who are lactating. Again, this is something that we need to follow for Ed Code, and it was part of our FPM.
Board, I do want to go back to 8.1 because that does discuss how now we are going to do these types of policies that are mandated. They're going to move forward on the first reading. We do not need to go to policy subcommittees or anything like that. If they're mandated, we move them forward. And so this is the one that Dr. Rodriguez was discussing, but I wanted to go back and make sure that it was understood that we're doing this for all of the mandated policies.
Dr. Wyatt, I move that we adopt this board policy 5146.
All right, it's been moved.
Second.
Been properly seconded by Ms. Ceballos. Any more discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries. We'll move on to 9.0, reports and comments. 9.1, board members, and we will start with Dr. Flores and move to my left.
Caught me off guard.
You're never short for words, Dr. Flores. So
I just want to welcome everybody back to the start of the new year, to all our teachers, our classified, our administrators, and also the kids, of course. And let's look forward to a great year, a loving year that's supportive and that moves us forward. And I look forward to working with our cabinet and our interim superintendents and so forth, and the board, my colleagues, so that we can, positively move our district forward. So I'm really happy about that. I wanted to share, how I always read. I just got this book, and it's Assessment and Evaluation in Bilingual Education. So I was going to recommend it to the multilingual department. It's very comprehensive. It's the top scholars in the nation with research in terms of assessment, and I saw that we have assessment on there, and it includes special ed kids and so forth. It's really, really incredible. I wanted to recommend and update Mrs. Applegate, Biography-Driven Culturally Responsive Teaching by Dr. Socorro Herrera. It's a second edition. I know I mentioned the first edition, but it's wonderful because it's based on biographies that are culturally responsive. And it includes many, many cultures, and it's focused on biography, and it's wonderful. I want you to look at it. And then I've collected, and I think I told you I bought like 28 books on women of color that are scientists, that are mathematicians, and that are engineers. And so this book is the story of Dr. Ellen Ochoa, first Latina astronaut, and it's called The Astronaut with a Song for the Stars. She's a very accomplished musician, plays the flute, and that's not surprising because music is very aligned with mathematical minds. And so anyway, I got really creative. I was a teacher of teachers, and I've created a response log, scientist biography response log. That's very comprehensive, and I like to share it, and maybe our teachers might like it. I don't know, so we could do it. I've generated like 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, about 10 questions. Anyway, and they're very high-level questions, and maybe our kids would love it. So anyway, just wanted to share all of that. And I went to 2 conferences in the summer. Did I say that already? I don't know if I said it last time. I went to the CALSA conference. It was fabulous. I just absolutely loved it. Dr. Rodriguez was there, and some of the Tex Acosta, some of the other people, and Beatriz. I think I did say it, and Ms. Ceballos was there too. Don't you agree? It was a great conference. Yeah, it was really powerful. And then I went to the Dual Language Institute, Summer Institute, and Ms. Applegate was there, and a lot of our teachers were there, and just tremendous, learning and teaching. And it was good to be with people. People really loved being together. And I think that, it's really would be supportive. I think some parents went as well. I can't quite remember. But anyway, I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. Ms. Ceballos.
Yeah, so I'll try to be quick here. Again, I just want to, welcome everyone back for this new upcoming school year. Wishing everybody just, the best. I do want to just mention that I think it was not last week, but the week before, I did attend the summer graduation over at the Outreach World.
Way World.
There we go. I get them confused. Way World Outreach. And it was just amazing. We had students from all over the district wearing all different color gowns. And so that was really nice. We had all of the students, campuses being represented there. And I was just really excited. It was the first time me attending because last year I wasn't able to. So I was glad that I was able to do that this time around. Also, I saw that the event that was held for the employees over at the 66er Stadium was also a success. Kind of bummed that I wasn't able to make it there, but I see that some of my colleagues were there, and so I'm glad that we were represented. Also, I want to, I guess this is more of a question for our cabinet. Sometime during the summer, during summer school, I was driving over by Arroyo Valley, and there's this area that now I realize that the students call the jungle. And there was just a lot of students there, And I kind of came over and parked my car and kind of got off just to see what was happening because it's empty. It's a private property. And it's right adjacent to where that cement concrete business is operating. And as soon as they saw me come over, they started to kind of scatter, and I was able to see, kind of like little ants running in all different directions. And it was during class. It was during the daytime, during class time. And so, I kind of walked over to the campus from that area and, had reached out to administration there and just kind of let them know what I had came across. And I don't know
what, apparently it's something that happens quite often. When I walked over there, there was like a living area that the students had created for themselves. There are some trunks and some like benches, a little table, some old tires, so that they had kind of created like this hangout spot for themselves. And that made me realize that they were coming there and visiting that area frequently because it wasn't being monitored, I guess. And so I'm just kind of wondering, are we going out there and making sure that, when students aren't ditching to that area, and that we are bringing them back over to the campus, because it is a private property. So I don't know,
So if it's okay, I can answer. So our security officers are on campus, and they were on campus during summer school. Their job is to work within the perimeter of the campus. And so if there are issues, as you're reporting, we notify school police. School police would go out to a property to investigate if there are issues. But our campus security officers, it's very rare that they go off the campus. They may do a perimeter check, but as far as distance for their safety, because they don't have anything but pepper spray, that's not their role to patrol the community at large. So what we will definitely do is get into contact with the school principal, as well as the watch commander that is in charge tomorrow morning, and we'll go and investigate that.
And also, just to let you know, Mr. Vitier texted me that he would be working with the city to clean up the area so that they could clean that out.
And that was what I was going to recommend if the CSOs aren't, really going out there because of, safety issues or what have you. A lot of times, unless somebody reports it, and it seems like nobody's reporting it because, like I said, they've established themselves there, really. I have some pictures, I'd be more than glad to share with you all of what it looks like and so forth. But yeah, if we can kind of get that situated, because like I said, students know that that's the hangout spot. They even named it. So we want to make sure that they're not there. Yeah. Thank you. And that was it.
Thank you, Ms. Ceballos. Dr. Dowdy Rogers.
Thank you. And hello. Let's see what time it is. They're still up. But I do definitely want to say welcome back to everyone. It is an exciting times. Kudos to the district for all the pomp and circumstances that you all did. I'm sure it really, excited parents and students just to come back to a welcoming environment. So thank you for that. But I do want to, before I even mention any other my comments, kind of goes to the young lady that started our meeting off. And, we have had some major losses and it saddens me, because while we're starting a new year off where parents are bringing their children, their babies. But at the same token, we have some major losses. And, I do definitely want to send my condolences out to the Allen and the Adams family. Both of those losses, one young man was 23 and then the other young girl was 8 years old, who is, still clinging to a tragic shooting. But we just, these are our students. To me, they're forever our students. They come through here, and no matter how old they get, they still are a part of our district family. And so I am hoping that we can continue, or we'll work with our cities and our leaders to develop a relationship where we're having conversations so we can figure out what can we do, like Ms. Ceballos was talking about, to have to pull together some tires and some benches and some things like that. And even though, I'm sure it's their own kind of commune, we want to offer something for all of our students throughout the community. And I know I've talked to some of our leaders, and we need to also bring fun back. It's nice to have the fun connected to school, but that's not really where fun's supposed to take place. This is academic learning. This is structured environment. This is something totally different. Our kids need somewhere they can go and do what they do as young adults and young people, where it's geared around fun. And so I'm hoping that we don't lose sight of that as we engage and connect, because just as we're celebrating, others have had losses in our very own community that are forever a part of this district. And so it saddens me. And, I was hoping to maybe we have that young lady's number, because we can get our community involved when they come to us. They just don't come to just tell us, they want some action. And like we said, talking to our city police along with our district police, we're responsible to carry those messages, right? And so I hope that we can look to do that, as well as I love the report tonight, and I appreciate we're off to a start, but I'm hoping that we continue to do a little bit more turning the corner on academic conversation. I was again, looking at some report out that our community sometimes put it on social media. Sometimes they tell us, sometimes they don't have time to tell us. But I saw a report. I think it's greatsomething.org. But anyway, the statement in there was, kind of, whether it was posed to us as a board or not, it said, how do we sleep at night, if our students are not doing as well as they should. And I want to say, I don't. I'm always thinking about what can we do better? How can we do some things better? And, I want our community to know that, enough is enough. We need to be about the academic achievement of these students that will leave us one day in hopes to be prepared to move on to their next level of life, whether it's in the trades, whether it's in going to the community college, all of those things. That is our job. And so to the district, we will be asking whether we call them KPIs or just updates. We want to know. And I would hope that even within our first semester, that's how serious we are. Because I remember when my kids were in school, I didn't wait to the end of the year. I started looking at, our progress reports, because then it knows. And I hope the district will work with us and the board work with them to say some way we need to know about progress along the way for academics, so we can take all of this money and all these things that we have access to right now to support and help our kids. And then lastly, on the top 10, I will bring up, I just realized that our middle school gyms was not on there. So when I looked at the top 10, it wasn't there, and we agreed that they were there. So please make sure that hits on there. Somehow it wasn't in that report. When you guys reported out, it didn't align to anything in there. It was missing. So I haven't forgotten. And then lastly, I'm hoping some of our CAPS programs is doing some entrepreneurship work. I know I talked about that a long time ago with our relationship with Cal State, but that is my hopes, that there is some entrepreneurial activities, because our students can be creative. It's a reason to, find out what's in their minds and what they like to do. So again, thank you, and keep those families, please, in your prayers.
Thank you, Dr. Dowdy Rogers. Ms. Rosales Medina.
Thank you so much. I still want to welcome everyone, our students, our staff, our teachers, our parents, our families, everyone within the community. A successful new school year, so I'm really excited about that. And just hearing the report from today, I'm really excited in seeing some of the great gains that we're going to have, as well as, of course, our employees that are back in schools. I saw this, Dr. Funches. I thought it was a really great report. It's really good to see all the great things we're doing within our school district, especially with the training of our teachers, and of course the programs for our classified and so forth. So I'm really excited about that. I do want to really look at when it comes to the college and career readiness within the school district. And I know we're going to start looking at how Ms. Rogers mentioned, Dowdy Rogers mentioned regarding the key performance indicators, or whatever we're going to call it. One of the top priorities and goals is college and career readiness, and also making sure that our A through Gs, and when you're looking at the Ds and Fs. But we did have, Pam Kempler, when she retired, that position. And of course, we had Dr. Esquivel, help us with that department as well. So now that he's not here, I think we do really have to look at the director position. This is just something that, in order for us, because I know the district has many positions that we need to fill, and this pertains to more of the director's positions. And so if this is something that we can look into, I'm not sure if the district has had conversations, how we can really look at the college and career department and possibly looking at filling in the director position. Other than that, I'm just really excited of the new school year. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Rosales Medina, and we've heard a lot of good welcome backs, and I said that earlier, so it is great to be back. And most of my items are what my colleagues already covered, but as Ms. Ceballos said, it was very nice to attend the summer graduation, and just want to say thank you to Dr. Venica. I always get it wrong. Venica-Tessin. She even worked with me on that one. She said, "Remember delicatessen." So she said that to me. So great job to you and Dr. Rodriguez and your team. And, I want to say thank you to the Way World Outreach Church as well. Beautiful venue, beautiful event. And they kept the air down so it didn't get too hot, because it could definitely get hot in there. And it was nice and cool. And Mr. Solon did a great job giving the AIC speech, the interim superintendent speech. And Dr. Rodriguez was our motivational speech as well, keynote. So great job to them. And like Ms. Biles said, it was a wonderful event. And, I said it's called a superintendent graduation. I said, no, that's the district graduation, the city graduation, because it was all of our schools, maybe with the exception of one, but all of our schools were there and our entire city was represented. So to me, that was our San Bernardino City summer graduation ceremony. So great job to our staff and all the kids that graduated as well, and families. It was a wonderful event. We had a biliteracy back to school kickoff as well, and Dr. Flores was there and made sure I would get there as well. Had a lot of meetings that day, but it was nice to see her there, and Lieutenant Colonel Kickbush as well was our keynote there, and welcoming back our teams for multilingual teams as well. Called biliteracy, but I know Dr. Flores always says multilingual, right? So
Right, and biliteracy. And I forgot to mention it, but I'm glad you are.
No, absolutely. And I know we had a ton of back to school events with so many different departments as we saw. And, I know we try to spread ourselves out as a board to cover as many as we can. But, just want to say thank you to everybody that set all those trainings up. And, the 66er welcome back event for our staff, that was absolutely phenomenal. I didn't know it was the inaugural. I didn't know that was the first one. I'll be honest with you. I thought maybe this happens all dang time, and I just missed them. But I agree, and Dr. Flores was there. Dr. Dowdy Rogers was there. Pretty much everybody up here on executive cabinet too. Wow, tremendous energy level is all I could say. Talk about a way to come back and welcome our staff back and saying thank you. And then there's also big pieces that of supporting our city and supporting our local team. And I'm hopeful we can make that an annual event. I might be wishing for too much, but I think it would be great, and we could fill that whole stadium with our folks. Because I think there might have been some other people there too, but we had a good chunk of the stands, and just happened to run into a high school friend I played baseball with. That was crazy. He was in the spot right next to us. Ron Burris, go Ron, Vermont PE teacher for almost 30 years. So it was great to see him as well as many, many other staff out there. But amazing event. That's all I could say. Great event. And kind of on that note, I did have a request from a community member that today's the National Night Out, I believe, as well. And so we did kind of mess up on that on scheduling a board meeting tonight. And no? Did we discuss that?
We've asked for it in the past because the National Night Out doesn't change. So we would need to put that on our calendar.
Absolutely.
To move it.
To move.
And then,
Us, move us or move them?
Us. Because
what I
it
thought,
never
us. Yeah,
changes.
us.
Yeah, it never changes that night. So I was like,
I meant us, and we say us, and that was a nice reminder. So I appreciate somebody bringing that to our attention, because it is a phenomenal night, and we need to be out there in our community supporting our community and our law enforcement officers and everybody out there. Not that we don't, but it would be nice for us to be out there as well. Not that our board meetings aren't exciting, but I think that'd be a lot more fun being out there in our community supporting them.
Add that to our to making sure that our calendar for next year.
Sure. I mean, that's one reason why I brought up, and that was actually brought to my attention by one of our community members. So I appreciate that as well. that she brought that to our attention. So thank you. And also, Mr. Greddy. So thank you, Mr. Greddy, for bringing that to our attention. I absolutely agree with you on that one. And, we do need to be out there. And I already saw a lot of great pics on social media with our school police, Samuel City PD and probation, Samuel County probation. And then those are just a few, but those are right here in our city. So I want to make sure we acknowledge them and thank them for building that relationship with our community, with our students, with our youth, and because we are here to work together. And I've heard that a lot tonight. And Dr. Rogers is right. One life's too many, and I had way too many last year. And it's a hard way to start off the year again. When you're talking about that, it really hit home for me. And we do need to do more. We have to, but we have to work together as well. That's all I could say. And with that, we will turn it over to our AIC and staff.
Thank you, Dr. Wyatt. Thank you very much. And I just want to reiterate, I know it's been said all night long about our staff and back to school. So just really want to thank our classified, certificated, our managers, our community, just a wonderful effort. And it's great to return to some form of normalcy. And I know that our people are glad to be back. So thanks to them again. And thank you, board, for your leadership as well. Just wanted to announce that we are moving forward with our back to school nights. Our elementary schools will be welcoming families next week. Middle schools will be welcoming families the week of August 15th, and high schools during the week of August 22nd. And we do this so that families can attend the different open houses that have several kids at the different campuses. We also wanted to highlight something very innovative, and this is what we're looking for moving forward at Ramon Alessandro. They had a kinder draft day. So the kindergarten students really signed contracts and commitments to their education, and they were drafted into kindergarten classrooms, which I thought was very cute, very innovative. So our hats off to Ramon Alessandro, very exciting. On another note, we also did want to give our condolences to the family of Joanne Tortorola. As many of you know, she was in our district for many years, and she was the director of our alternative program. So our condolences go out to the family. As you know, we also have a very big push on literacy, early literacy. So we have an exciting literacy event being highlighted at Dr. Mildred Henry Elementary School. Principal DeKalb made sure to drop off flyers. That will be on, let's see, when is the date? The 6th, August 6th, Saturday at noon. And it is an American Girl Tea Party. So please make sure you get the information from Henry School, and they will highlight this event for whoever wants to attend. It's not just for the school itself. Also, I wanted to, Dr. Rogers, you're absolutely right about our commitment to student achievement and all the other KPIs, as we called them. And I just wanted to let you know that the cabinet has moved forward in beginning to schedule presentations for the board around our KPIs, student achievement, and many other areas that you've asked for. So we'll be bringing that forth soon. We will have a student achievement presentation in September. I wanted to thank Mr. Harold Sullins again for the transition, for handing me the baton. Thank you so much for preparing me and moving forward. And then lastly, I wanted to just say a few words about the incident that happened at Cajon High School. And we heard the parents loud and clear. We realized what a concern this is. I had 3 sons who went through Cajon High School. They all came through this district. And I remember back in the days where there were some significant, serious crises and concerns going on at the high school. So we absolutely never want to, seem like we're trying to hide something, but we also need to be very sure that whatever we release, it's factual, because we don't want to add to the anxiety and the nervousness. So we just ask our parents to be patient with us, but to know that we are completely committed to school safety. Again, as my kids all went through this school, I have grandchildren who are in school. So that level of commitment is high from all of us, starting with our board, as you heard our board members. So I just want to ask our families, our students, to be vigilant. We want to make sure if you see something, you hear something, that you're reporting these things, because we heard that possibly a student may have witnessed something. So this is something that we can build on and try to have that trust within the community so that they can let us know when some of these things are happening. So just know that it is being fully investigated, and we will update our board as we need to, but know that our commitment is strong. We want to make sure that our schools are safe for our students. And I want to thank our school police officers. They had a great response time. They've been very responsive and very helpful. Staff went out to the school as well. So we support each other. I just wanted to make that known. Thank you. That's all for me.
Thank you, Ms. Applegate. And we'll move on to 10.0 action items. 10.1, Let me get there real quick. Approval of personnel report number 2 dated August 2nd, 2022, which contains actions such as hiring, retirements, resignations, promotions, and terminations.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All right, let's vote. All right, motion carries. Move on to 10.2, consideration and approval of the amendment to employment contract associate superintendent, business facilities and operations.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries. Moving on to 10.3. Approval of the coordinator, creator after-school programs for success, CAPS, expanded learning job description.
So moved. And I have a question.
All right, it's been moved,
Second.
been properly second. All right, now question?
Yes.
Dr. Flores? Sorry.
Yes, Dr. Wyatt. I have no problem with it. I think because of our CAPS program and its expansion, we probably need 4 coordinators. But anyway.
Yeah, I had no idea it was getting that darn big. That
Right,
is huge, actually.
right.
Gigantic.
So my question, and I don't think we should, if you go to terms of employment and dark, bold print, it says this is a grant-funded position. Continuation of position is dependent upon renewal of grant. I would think that we should have enough money, given that we have those, ongoing funds. Ms. Applegate, what do we, or Mr. Sullins?
So yes, as Dr. Rodriguez mentioned earlier, we have ACES funding, but we have this new expanded learning opportunity program grant, which is an ongoing source. However, it is wise to always include that language because it is a grant. The state, depending on the economy, can always roll back things. So it's good to keep the language in there, but we should have money to fully fund this in perpetuity.
Why do we need that language?
Because it is still grant funding,
grant-funded,
and grant funding can always be pulled back.
The funding source is grant.
But given that we have institutionalized CAPS, I mean, I know for years we've been wanting, permanent coordinators. Can we not afford to do that? I think we can.
We can, absolutely. And so this isn't a question. This really isn't a question of funding. However, as part of the job descriptions, it's prudent for us to include that language. There is no plan or expectation that we would not fully fund this position.
Well, I would like to remove it because I think we should have, permanent funding for it. And if it's ongoing, I don't see a problem because this, can eliminate it. I don't know. I mean, if we didn't have the funding, we would leave it vacant.
Yeah, here's what I recommend, Dr. Flores. I could just work with Dr. Rodriguez and her team, revise that job description, and move forward.
Do what?
Work with Dr. Rodriguez and her team, revise the job description, and move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Daddy Rogers.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what you're revising it. I think I probably need clarity on that because number one, we're turning the corner of prior to just having concerns. I remember one concern that spoke volumes is that we didn't want to hire people and then have to get rid of people. And then, historically, we know we've received funding that we never received before. And the consistencies of this language, because it is a grant, I totally understand that because we don't know if it's going to be over forever. And we are hopeful. But I just want us to be consistent as a board, because there's some other needs that it was so many, I can't remember them all, but I can only imagine those watching and those who also want some additional supports will say, well, how come here and not in the other places? So I would just caution us before we say, let's just do this tonight, to really get clarification and understanding what are some other additional needs, because I'm hearing a lot of cluster conversation. I mean, I heard this stuff like a year ago, but it looks like it's all aligning together again, and we see that there is a need. But I know each time we do talk about positions comes with long-term money and not wanting someone to get hired and then all of a sudden not be hired. So, as it is, I'm comfortable with it, because I'm comfortable with it based on what the board's recommendations have been in the past several months. We didn't want to do this. We didn't want to hire people right now. So I don't know where we are that we would think it's a little bit different today. But even in your response, Dr. Funches, you just said we can revise the description. So I wasn't clear on what that meant.
And we can always go back and take a look at it. I know that CAPS funding, I think ELOP, there are some ongoing funds that we have available. We could always go back and work with Dr. Rodriguez and her team, revising. We'd bring that back to the board. That's what I wanted to clarify.
Yeah, because I would say to the board, I'd like to, as we look at one, let's look at maybe some others we thought we couldn't do that we now can do, because we think that the money is a little bit more stable, and we have seen the last the revisions of the budgets and things. There were some other supports that if we can afford them, then we should be fair across the board.
Thank you, Dr. Dowdy Rogers. Ms. Ceballos?
Yeah, pretty similarly to the comments that Dr. Rogers has made. I guess I'm a little confused in the fact that, a couple months ago we were having conversations about we couldn't hire permanent staff because it was going to be an ongoing, expense and how that added. And so I just want to make sure that we are understanding what has changed, if something has changed, right? And I don't think that we've had any presentations or any conversations more in depth. I know that Mr. Tillman had last board meeting requested that maybe a presentation or workshop, about what is our current state in terms of like the budget and so forth. But I guess similar concerns. I'm just, I would like to make sure that the one-time money that we are getting, that we're able to utilize that first, because, we don't want to send it back, right? And again, if there's concerns about the fact that we can't sustain these positions over a long period of time, then that was the concern a couple months ago. So again, I just want to make sure that if something has changed, that we know what has changed.
Thank you, Ms. Ceballos. Dr. Flores?
So I hear both of my colleagues. That'll be fine with me then, that we will be pending. I know we're going to get this money for many, many years. So eventually, as we expand our program, maybe we can make it a permanent position afterwards. So that'll be fine, just to leave it the way it is for now. Okay.
Ms. Applegate?
Yes, and just to address Ms. Ceballos' question and Dr. Dowdy Rogers as well. I think if you remember when we had the LCAP board workshop, and we discussed moving a lot of the centralized supports to the sites, and we presented at that time that we were going to really fortify our sites with certain positions. Well, looking at that type of model, I know one of the things that came up, like with Dr. Funches, there was a need to have maybe a handful of positions downtown instead of what we had been talking about before, because again, expanding the CAPS program now presents that need when we need a little bit of extra help. Not the slew of positions that we had talked about before, but perhaps, that position as a coordinator to help. With Dr. Funches, I know he'll be looking maybe for a few additional staff, because the hiring that we want to do for the site supports is massive. And so it's not going to be centralized. It'll be at the schools, but Dr. Funches will still need some assistance, in doing that. So again, what you had mentioned about college and career. So these are things that we can bring back to the board based on need, decentralizing all that support, but it's still going to require some support downtown to do that.
And that's exactly, why I would like to see some of the stuff that we were very cautious prior, because I know there is a position that Dr. Funches had appealed to us about support that was needed. I don't know where that is or how you figured it out, but I know it was a position that was ongoing for a long time, not filled, and that support is needed. I'm hearing more people having strokes, different things are going on in our district, and we want to self-care. We can't keep stretching the bandwidth here and not there. Sometimes we got to do the administrative things. And then there was another support position, I can't remember what it was, came before us, and it was no. So if we're in a better space and place, we need to know that, because otherwise people are it's a lot of heavy lift of work. And if we can support them, that sends a huge message. It's not about what the title is. Some of this work just can't be done with a few people as we've done it over the years. So I would like to see it across the board.
Thank you, Dr. Dowdy Rogers and Ms. Applegate, and thank you, Dr. Flores, as well, because I think it's important that the language does stay the same in this job description. Obviously, we know that the position's needed, especially after the presentation this evening. The number has gone up exponentially, and I'm extremely happy that these programs are being offered at all schools, which is what it should have always been and what we always wanted. But at the same time, sustainability is huge. We talked about this with many positions. I'll just say it as well as my colleagues in the past, and we did not want to approve them based on, one thing we know in business is you don't create positions that eat, right, that have an ongoing price tag for quite some time, because then it leads to layoffs, and we didn't want layoffs. So I imagine this position will be needed for quite some time, and maybe for as long as we can think about. But right now, I think it's important we do leave the language the same as it is, and we've done this in the past as well. So I think consistency is key. Mr. Solon.
So thank you, Dr. Wyatt. So I did want to address Mrs. Ceballos' questions with kind of what's changed. And I think, at any point in time with budget, it's a moving target, particularly because we're funded by the state. And as the state goes, so we go in terms of our budget. And so what's really changed from kind of where we started, at the beginning of the 21-22 school year, is the state has historic surpluses and revenues that ultimately translated into huge investments into public education, greater than we've seen in a long time. So that being said, when we think about this position in particular, this expanded learning opportunity grant program, which the governor started for the 21-22 school year, he more than doubled the revenues for that program for the 22-23 school year. So to put it in perspective, funding went from $27 million for the program to $54 million, over $54 million. So when we think about some of these dollars that we get, they are restricted in nature, and so we are intended to use those dollars for specific purposes. And Dr. Rodriguez shared some of the restrictions or the requirements: the 30 extra days of instruction, the 9-hour instructional day when combined with our regular day instruction. So the revenues are definitely much greater as they've come through with the enacted state budget, but we also have to take a cautious approach as well, because we are hearing, indicators in the economy that are not positive, while we also have indicators that are very positive. So we're in a very sort of unique circumstance here, where we have been funded very well for 22-23, but we always need to look forward to see what we can sustain. So, and we will provide the board with a 45-day budget revision at the next board meeting, and then in September, as discussed at the last board meeting, we will actually provide some additional information to the board with discussions related to how we look to expend some of these dollars that we've received.
Thank you for the information and clarification, Mr. Solon. My only last concern on this job description is the terms of employment, which is right around the grant funded position. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is because I looked at the next position, and this position says to be determined by placement on San Diego City Unified School District daily rate. Is this going to be different versus the other position, which said like range 66, and this one isn't as specific? So I was just wondering why.
Well, that would be me.
Okay. Sorry, Dr. Funches. Let me look to the left.
They'd be the same salary range. Sometimes they're written they have a little bit of variance in how we put them together. But it would be the same salary range as for coordinator on the certificated side of the house. So to answer your question, yes, they'd be the same.
Be like range 66 as well. All right. And then Dr. Funches, one more. And this just came up today in my cabinet meeting. The 228-day work year, will that stay the same or will that change because of the Juneteenth holiday?
So if we negotiate that properly, if we bring it back to the board and then Juneteenth is approved, of course we'd have to adjust our certificated manager work year, which would take one of those work days away.
Be a 227, or would it still be a 228?
It would be 228, but they'd have that day off, so they'd have to find another day to work, right? So it's kind of complicated to explain, but they'll still have the 228-day work year.
I'm lobbying for our administrators and managers here because we were very fortunate in my organization to go 227, which I would have never dreamed. So it was good news for us today, and I would just put that out there for our managers. Thank you. Dr. Flores.
Just to clarify, so this is also a new position, the next one.
This is, and when we can wait until we get to it, or I can give you an explanation now.
Because what Dr. Dowdy Rogers says and Ms. Ceballos, this is a new position too, should be also pending sufficient funds. Anyway, yeah, we'll talk about it when we get there. Okay, thank you.
All righty, great discussion, folks, and thank you, staff, for all the clarity and information on that. So we had discussion. Let's go ahead and vote. It's been first and probably second, I believe, correct, Ms. Cunningham? All right. All right, very good. So we'll take it to a vote. Oh, it's already there. Wow, you guys are right on that. It is? Mine was. Boom. They were waiting to push that button. And I don't blame them. All right, motion carries. We'll move on to 10.4, which is approval of the coordinator of certificated support programs, employee development job description.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. And I was going to say discussion, and it looks like Dr. Flores is ready for discussion. Dr. Flores?
So Dr. Funches, this is a new position as well?
Yes, funded by Educator Effectiveness Funding or Educator Effectiveness Grant. It is
grant?
short-time funding, yes.
It's a grant?
Short-term, funding, yes.
So is that on here?
So what we would do, we wrote that one a little bit differently. When we advertise it, our goal was to advertise it as such. As long as we had the funds, the particular individual who we would hire would have an understanding that once those grant funds are gone away, the position would go away as well.
So you'll add that to the job position?
Our advertisement, that's how we wanted to do that one. We don't mind adding it to the job description, but it was our intent to add it to the advertisement.
I think it needs to be added, just like we had it for the other one, to be consistent. Yeah, based on funding. Yeah. Thank you. Do my colleagues agree? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I turned on my light.
I'm
But
sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree as well. Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I can't turn my
Doesn't
dang light off. I've got to go over here. All righty. Any other discussion?
Just call for the vote.
All right, let's go ahead and vote. All right, motion carries, and glad that went a little quicker. We are now on to 11.0 consent items, 11.1 approval consent items.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any items to pull? Unfortunately, I am one that's going to be pulling one, so I just waited. I'll be pulling 11.28 as even though there is not a dollar amount to it, it is a program I directly supervise. And to me, there is expenses that are indirect costs that would be beneficial to us as the county because it includes buildings and furniture. So I definitely need to recuse myself from the vote and the discussion.
Okay, we can go ahead and call for the vote.
Yep, let's go ahead and vote with 11.28 being pulled by me.
And then you'll just abstain.
That one I don't know if I need to abstain or recuse, but I can abstain. Okay, thank you. So I will abstain from that one then when we get there. All right, motion carries. We'll move on to 11.28.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, let's go ahead and vote. I'm sorry, the move and the second?
I moved.
It was moved by Dr. Flores, seconded by Dr. Dowdy Rogers. There was no discussion, and we should be at the vote, correct?
Yeah.
All right, because I on that one, I shouldn't have been a yay. I should have been abstention.
Top right.
There we go. Alrighty, motion carries, and we will move on to 12.0, review board request. 12.1, staff will review items, updates, and requested. Ms. Ontiveros.
Thank you, President Wyatt. So this evening, the request started when during the public comments. So I'm going to go ahead and capture some of those because I think that there was some interest from the board in supporting them. So during public comment, there was a request to look into the parking issue at Golden Valley Middle School. There was also a request that we consider how the district could support Chavez, the families around Cesar Chavez Middle School, as well as North Verdemont, relative to some of the residents in the area and some challenges they provide. There were questions about providing more transparency around the results of the investigation over the incident that happened at Cajon, as well as the social media investigation or the investigation of social media threats. There was also a request for us to consider adding metal detectors at school sites. Then Ms. Abigail Rosales Medina asked that we would monitor and consider protective measures for how we would handle monkeypox in the district. Dr. Gwen Rogers asked if we would determine how the current, or provide a report on how the current enrollment in our CAPS program compares to the years before we went into COVID. Dr. Barbara Flores asked that we would look into busing for the dual immersion program at San Bernardino High School and to consider how we might provide transportation for lottery programs at Cesar Chavez Middle School. Ms. Abigail Rosales Medina asked that we would look at ways to reduce the wait time for students who are riding buses so that they're not late to school, and to reconvene the Transportation Task Force in order to prepare for implementation of the late start next year. Ms. Myra Ceballos asked that we report the number of students who can be serviced by the current fleet of buses that we have circulating, and then also to assess current programming so we could determine which programs might need to be replicated so more students would stay home at their home schools or go to their home schools. Dr. Barbara Flores asked that we would consider a staffing analysis for our custodial team in order to support our schools, and also to thank you for this reminder to make sure that all of our communication goes out both in Spanish and in English. Ms. Myra Ceballos asked that we would check the area known as the jungle next to Arroyo Valley High School to make sure that where students were congregating during school hours. And Dr. Gwen Rogers asked that we would consider more opportunities for students to have fun outside of school, but also to focus on their academic achievement and to bring back some KPI reports in order to provide updates to the board, which Ms. Abigail Rosales Medina also echoed.
Ginger, can I just say that,
Sure.
and that was a collaboration with our city as well.
Okay.
So to kind of set, to be in a relationship so they can be in charge of the fund and we could do the academic.
I added those words just to make sure we don't lose that essence. Then Dr. Gwen Rogers asked that we would correct the top 10 to make sure that it included the middle school gyms. You also asked if we would consider having the CAPS programs incorporate an entrepreneurship program. Ms. Abigail Rosales Medina asked that we would consider rehiring the Director of College and Career. And Dr. Scott Wyatt suggested that we avoid scheduling board meetings in conflict with the National Night Out. And finally, Dr. Gwen Rogers asked that we would consider key positions needed to support the district's expanded work across various programs. Perfect. Thank you.
All right, board, was that captured correctly? Any other issues that we might have missed? All right, I think it is that time. I was hoping to get us out by 11, but we're pretty close, pretty close.
So move to adjourn.
All right, there's been a motion to adjourn, and I'm sure a second. I'll second it, and no discussion at all. So let's all have a great evening, and thank you very much, and safe drives home. And may God continue to bless our district, our staff, our students, our community. Good night.